Chapter 192 Can't lift it, just can't lift it. First of all, the name cannot be called travelogue, it has no attraction at all. As an immortal cultivator, do you want to see people traveling the world? Don't they have the ability? I like to watch it because my aptitude is poor and I don't dare to leave the Supreme Sect on normal days. Gu commented pompously. Xian Tianyi sat down beside him, carefully listening to his suggestions. Just like that, Gu began his long-winded tirade. Putting aside everything else, bragging felt exhilarating. No wonder so many people like to act as mentors. Gu enjoyed it very much. 2 ancient hours quickly passed. Gu stopped reluctantly, while Xian Tianyi felt deep admiration, realizing there were so many tricks to writing a book, what to make enjoyable, relatable, create tension, and more. Listening to him was utterly fascinating. Excitedly, Xian Tianyi stood up to bid farewell. In planning to visit the Heavenly Repair Platform to feel the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao and rewrite this book. Following your advice, I won't call it Sword Venerable Travelogue anymore. I will come up with a new name. After saying that, he walked towards the door. Gu stood up to see him off. After going downstairs, Gu watched him leave with a look of contemplation. An Exan suddenly ran over and said, "Master, the white spirit rat is missing." Gu responded casually, "It's gone, then it's gone. It knows how to come back on its own." Many disciples in the valley were rewarded by him and allowed to cultivate under the mystic pure tree, but the one who benefited the most was the white spirit rat, whose maximum lifespan had increased several times over. He suspected it had achieved enlightenment in its dreams. How difficult enlightenment was. Lu Lingjun practiced under the mystic pure tree every day without success, but the white spirit rat managed to do it. However, no one else noticed this. The white spirit rat appeared the same as before, just a bit more agile. An Exan looked worried as she listened. Since Gu had handed the white spirit rat to her, she no longer disliked it. Gu thought she was becoming a rat slave. Gu led an Exan to the side, preparing to guide her in her cultivation. Now, Gu was already a great cultivator at the 8th floor of the Foundation Establishment realm, more than capable of guiding an Exan. On the other side, Xian Tianyi arrived at the Heavenly Repair Platform. It had been 2 months since the fall of the demon ancestor. Because of Sword Venerable Fudao, the Supreme Sect had become the most prestigious sect in the 3 Dynasties region, attracting numerous cultivators to visit the Heavenly Repair Platform. Zuijian guarded the heaven-cutting axe, with dozens of disciples by his side, all his followers. The heaven-cutting axe was the inheritance left by Sword Venerable Fudao to the disciples of the Supreme Sect, so Zuijian did not allow disciples from other sects to challenge this legacy. No one but disciples of our sect can test the heaven-cutting axe. Zuijian shouted sternly, causing dissatisfaction among the cultivators surrounding the heaven-cutting axe. Someone even questioned his authority. Zuijian defiantly replied, "I am Zuijian, the maniac swordsman of Tsanghu Lake. My sword was once used by the Sword Venerable himself, and I have the duty to safeguard his legacy." With that statement, no one dared to question him further, though many still disapproved of his attitude. Xian Tianyi watched from a distance, equally displeased. An insignificant nascent soul realm cultivator dare to act so arrogantly? He suddenly recalled Gu An's warning. Yes, this could be written down. In the future, he would write that Sword Venerable Fudao killed people with a shoulder tap to frighten this kid. Xian Tianyi, long time no see. A light chuckle caught Xian Tianyi's attention. He turned to see a man in a purple robe approaching. The man was elegant, with his robe fluttering in the wind and a feather crown on his head, attracting the gazes of disciples along his path. Xian Tianyi slightly raised his chin and said, "Ji Xianling, it's been years. How come you've just now entered the Mahayana realm?" As soon as his words fell, the Heavenly Repair Platform was abuzz. Even Zuijian, standing beside the heaven-cutting axe, couldn't help but look toward the two. Very quickly, someone recognized Xian Tianyi, making them even more curious about Ji Xianling. Where did this Mahayana realm cultivator come from? Weren't there only 2 Mahayana realm cultivators in the 3 Dynasties region? Ji Xianling walked up to Xian Tianyi, standing 5 steps apart, their heights nearly identical. Xian Tianyi was more arrogant, while Ji Xianling, though not as proud, was equally formidable. Brother Xian, you made rapid progress after a trip to the ocean. Are you now a disciple of the Supreme Sect or the Star Sea congregations? Ji Xianling asked with a smile. Xian Tianyi scoffed, I can be a disciple of any sect I want, can you? Ji Xianling chuckled and continued asking, I wonder, Brother Xian, have you met Sword Venerable Fudao? Xian Tianyi suddenly had an idea, smiling as he said, Of course I have. If you want to meet Sword Venerable Fudao, you can. See the heaven-cutting axe over there? If you can move it even slightly, it'll take you to see Sword Venerable Fudao. Really? Absolutely. It seems this axe is hard to move. Ji Xianling said thoughtfully. Xian Tianyi replied proudly, Indeed it is. Even with my cultivation, I could only make it shift a little. Many disciples of the Supreme Sect who had seen him lift the axe were hesitant to speak, not daring to contradict him in public. Then let me try. Ji Xianling turned and walked toward the heaven-cutting axe, with Xian Tianyi following closely behind. Upon reaching the heaven-cutting axe, Zuijian wanted to stop him but was instantly subdued by Xian Tianyi's divine sense, rendering him immobile. Zuijian looked at Xian Tianyi in fear, feeling furious. Ji Xianling ignored Zuijian's minor actions. He raised his hand to grasp the handle of the heaven-cutting axe. More and more cultivators gathered. On the heavenly repair platform one could find disciples from all sects of the three dynasties' immortal cultivation world, even including demon path disciples. In the face of the demon calamity, the righteous and demonic paths had ceased hostility to jointly resist demons, so the Supreme Sect did not prevent demon path disciples from coming, as long as they didn't cause trouble. Under the watchful eyes of Sword Venerable Fudao, who would dare to act recklessly? The moment Ji Xianling grasped it, he felt the same as Ji Xiaoyu. Unshakable. However, remembering that Xian Tianyi could make it shift with all his might, he felt slightly reassured and began cultivating energy. Boom! The aura of the Mahayana realm was fully unleashed, startling the surrounding cultivators to retreat. Xian Tianyi's eyes narrowed. He immediately isolated Ji Zunling's aura with his own, directing it skyward to avoid harming others. Figures appeared out of thin air on the heavenly repair platform. LV Baiyan, Gu Zong, Ji Hantian, and Lu Lingjun had all arrived and were watching Ji Xianling. Ji Zunling's brows furrowed. He shifted his stance for better leverage, even emitting golden flames from his 7 orifices, causing the surrounding space to quake violently. The heavenly repair platform trembled, and LV Baiyan and others cultivated energy to channel mana into the platform, preventing it from shattering. Despite using secret techniques, Ji Xianling found himself unable to budge the heaven-cutting axe, becoming increasingly agitated. He let out a low shout, veins bulging from his neck, his face flushed red, no longer composed or elegant. Xian Tianyi's mouth twitched uncontrollably. Just like that. The so-called prodigy of the 7-star spirit realm, nothing more. Ji Zunling's entire body ignited with golden flames, resembling a human torch, yet no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move the heaven-cutting axe. How could this be? Ji Xianling was shocked, unable to accept this reality. He could accept not being able to lift it, but he couldn't accept being weaker than Xian Tianyi. The harder he tried, the more he felt the heaven-cutting axe was immovable. How did Xian Tianyi manage to do it? Could it be the Star Sea congregations had deeper foundations than the 7-star spirit realm? Enough, it's about time. If you can't move it, you can't move it. As a prodigy of the Holy Land, can you not accept this fact? Looks like the 7-star spirit realm's training is inadequate, only teaching cultivation, not character formation? Xian Tianyi's voice rang out. This guy was incredibly annoying, broadcasting his voice for all to hear, as if afraid no one would know Ji Zunling's identity. Ji Xianling cursed inwardly, withdrawing the flames around him. The terrifying pressure of the Mahayana realm vanished, allowing everyone to breathe a sigh of relief. Xian Tianyi no longer suppressed Zuijian and began mocking Ji Xianling. Ji Xianling tried to keep smiling, praising the greatness of Sword Venerable Fudao. After all, he was a renowned great cultivator. Seeing Ji Zunling's humility, Zhuo Yijian felt favorable towards him, speaking up. Actually, Senior Xian failed before as well. He couldn't make the heaven-cutting axe budge. Upon hearing this, Ji Zunling's smile froze. Xian Tianyi wasn't angry, he became even more pleased. He decided he would definitely include the shoulder-tapping detail in his book to make Zhuo Yijian restless. On the other side, in the third Medicine Valley, Gu Wen pondered the purpose of Ji Zunling's visit. It probably wasn't to investigate him. If so, would they come with such fanfare? Could it be the Holy Land was preparing to integrate into the immortal cultivation world? After the Mahayana realm pressure dissipated, an Exen relaxed and raised her sword again, saying, "Master, Senior Xian said just now that the other party comes from the Holy Land. Does this mean the Holy Land intends to accept us?" In her mind, the Holy Land was definitely more powerful than the Supreme Sect. Hearing this, Gu Wen couldn't help but speculate if the Seven Stars Spirit Realm wanted to annex the Supreme Sect. Facing the unknown sword Venerable Fu Dao, they couldn't continue to suppress openly, mainly because their previous actions were in secret and couldn't be publicly exposed. But the Lin family wouldn't let it rest. The Lin family was a major clan in the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Gu Wen was ready to bully the older and more powerful ones. He said, "How would I know? Focus on practicing your sword skills. You're good in every way, but your mind isn't focused. Whenever there's a chance, you slack off." An Exen blushed and continued practicing her sword. Gu Wen collected his thoughts, no longer thinking about the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. He began to think about his new book. It was about time to start writing Journey to the West. Perfect, he could use this book to critique the high and mighty Seven Stars Spirit Realm, awakening the thoughts of cultivators everywhere. Of course, this book had to be written slowly to avoid alerting them. Writing for decades, by the time the Seven Stars Spirit Realm realized, Gu Wen would have already reached the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. News of the prodigy Ji Xianling from the Holy Land failing to lift the heaven-cutting axe quickly spread, exciting the disciples of the Supreme Sect. As the Holy Land began saving the world, many legends about the Seven Stars Spirit Realm sprouted like mushrooms after the rain. To many disciples of the Supreme Sect, it seemed like the Holy Land was trying to steal the glory of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Why didn't the Holy Land act before the demon ancestor's death? Now, the moment a prodigy from the Holy Land appeared in the Supreme Sect, they were overshadowed by Sword Venerable Fu Dao. How could they not be pleased? This news quickly spread from the Supreme Sect to the immortal cultivation world of the three dynasties, attracting more and more cultivators to come to the Supreme Sect, eager to witness the prowess of the heaven-cutting axe. Chapter 193 Just Sparring, not life-threatening. With the arrival of midsummer and under the scorching sun, Gu Wen was picking medicinal herbs in Mystic Valley. As the number of demons and monsters in the world significantly decreased, the sky became bluer. Now, with the three dynasties, the Holy Land, and the Demon Emperor's forces actively eliminating demons, Gu Wen's speed of harvesting lifespans also slowed down. However, everything gradually returned to peace, which was a good thing for him. Peace in the world, quietly farming, and developing steadily, that was the true path. Lu Jiojia came to Gu Wen's side and asked softly, "Senior brother, are you going to participate in the alchemy contest at the end of the year?" After the demon ancestor died, LV Beiyin became active again. First, he made Xian Tianyi write a book, and then he organized the first alchemy contest of the world. The various rich rewards attracted the attention of cultivators across the world, and disciples of the Supreme Sect could participate as well. In Lu Jujia's view, Gu Wen's alchemy skills were quite good. He had elevated batch after batch of servant disciples to outer disciples. Just in Mystic Valley alone, more than 20 disciples had achieved foundation establishment successfully, and new faces appeared in Medicine Valley almost every year. No need to join the excitement. Having my name on the golden list is enough for me to make a living. Gu Wen casually replied. There would be many similar world contests in the future. If there were a calligraphy contest, he might participate since he liked practicing writing daily. Lu Jiojia sighed at the development of the Supreme Sect. Now, the Supreme Sect was vastly different from when he first joined, with a more upright atmosphere and a stronger sect. Previously, even seeing a nascent soul cultivator was difficult, but now there were numerous divinity transformation, void crossing, and unification cultivators on the heavenly repair platform, and he even heard of mystic heart realm affairs. The stronger the supreme sect, the more opportunities for the disciples. For example, even participating in organizing the first alchemy contest of the world could reap significant rewards, making it suitable for disciples with ample time but lacking cultivation resources. Guwen continued to pick herbs while attentively listening. Listening more to the opinions of lower-level cultivators about the Supreme Sect revealed more about whether the Supreme Sect was on the right path. Wait, why do I have this sect leader's mindset again? Blame LV Batian. However, Guwen was accustomed to acting as LV Batian's behind-the-scenes advisor. This feeling was actually quite satisfying, just speaking without doing, fulfilling his desire to command without exerting effort. LV Batian also enjoyed it. Over time, perhaps one day Guwen would want to manage the sect personally. It had been several months since the demon ancestors' fall. The Supreme Sect dispatched inner disciples and outer disciples to eliminate demons, while inheriting disciples and true disciples were sent to the demon land for exploration. The demon land was vast, an unknown treasure trove for the sects of the three dynasties. Even great cultivators of the mystic heart realm could not resist going. Lu Lingjun had left the Third Medicine Valley as well, but her departure did not affect the Third Medicine Valley. When Lu Jiujia finished speaking, Guwen finally said meaningfully, "You must cultivate the technique left by Wuxin seriously. The rise of the Supreme Sect shows that times have changed, and we both have opportunities." Lu Jiujia nodded, starting to imagine the future. Guwen handed the picked herbs to Lu Jiujia, gave a few reminders, and then left Mystic Valley. Next was the picking in Tianya Valley, Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, Mountain God Temple, and Nianchu Cave. In the evening, he had to go to the 8 scenic caves. It was busy but fulfilling. Although the number of demonized monsters was decreasing, Guwen still gained a lot of lifespans by picking medicinal herbs. He was even preparing to expand Nianchu Cave Mansion, just as he needed to find 2 female demons for Tianyao. At night, in Nianchu Cave Mansion, Guwen sat at a stone table, sipping tea while watching Tianyao and 2 little cat demons. The demon land lacked nothing but demons, and Guwen sought out demons that were suffering. These 2 little cat demons were twins. Their parents were eaten by a demonized monster last month, and they barely escaped, suffering many injuries over the past month. Tianyao was cleaning their wounds. Seeing her joyful yet distressed expression, Guwen couldn't help but think of an Exen. Do women all like to keep pets? Guwen extended his divine sense to the depths of the demon land. The legend of the evil demon spread continuously in the 3 dynasties, making the evil demon a dire threat to all, more terrifying than the demon ancestor. Even the ancient Holy Land could not shake it. The demonic chi of the evil demon was constantly spreading. Even Guwen, in the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, needed to spend some time searching for it. Half an hour later, Guwen's divine sense locked onto a mountain range deep within the continent, a place nearly 10 million miles away from Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, with demonic chi covering a radius of over 1 million miles. Guwen's divine sense penetrated the densest area of demonic chi. Along the way, he saw a group of mysterious cultivators, none of whom were weak, with the weakest at the Mahayana realm. They had set up camp in a mountain forest temple, each cultivating alone without interacting. It seemed like the 7 stars spirit realm wanted to guard against the evil demon breaking its seal. Soon, he felt a strong restriction, breakthrough only possible by someone at the wandering immortal realm. He felt he could break it, but he did not want to alarm the 7 star spirit realm or the evil demon, so he withdrew his divine sense. Take it slow, no rush. If he could reach a lifespan of 100 million years before the evil demon broke its seal, great. If not, he would break through early. Guwen called up his attribute panel and saw that his lifespan was about to hit 9 million years, feeling calm inside. After a while, Guwen asked, "Have you thought of what to name them?" The 2 little cat demons had low spiritual wisdom, still at the first order. Tianyao thought for a while and said, Master, why don't you name them? Speaking of which, I still don't know what Master's name is. Upon saying this, her tone turned wistful, her gaze at Guwen filled with grievance. Ignoring her look, Guwen said, let's call them Tianqing and Tianbai. Both cat demons were white. The names Tianqing and Tianbai came to Guwen's mind because of his Qinghong sword and Yi Lan's white spirit sword. Tun Yaoer immediately flattered, sounds good as expected of Master. Guwen stood up and left with a parting word, remember, don't let them step on the herbs. Seeing him disappear into thin air, Tian Yaoer pouted, then picked up the two cat demons and brought them to the stone table. She suddenly noticed two books on the table. Sword Venerable Legend? Tian Yaoer became interested, placing the two cat demons on the table, then picked up one of the books and started reading. At the end of summer, the heat in the world persisted. In the third medicine valley, Xian Tianyi sat on a chair, looking depressed. He couldn't help but ask, why doesn't my Sword Venerable Legend sell as much as your book? Guwen was writing, answering, maybe there are too many books of the same type, so it has a weaker effect. Not to mention other sects, just the Supreme Sect had produced dozens of books about Sword Venerable Fudao. Green Hero didn't have pan-Annis appeal, so how could it be popular? Xian Tianyi sighed, feeling he was better suited to writing travelogues. He picked up a piece of paper Guwen had just finished writing and read aloud, chaos wasn't divided, and the world was in turmoil, vast and boundless, unseen by anyone. Since Pangu broke the primordial chaos, from then on, clear and turbid were distinguished. Just the opening poem captivated him. This must be an investiture of the gods type of book. He read on seriously, finding it fascinating. When he finished the first page, he wanted to find the second, but Guwen hadn't written it yet. Guwen wasn't just recalling the plot but also thinking about the handwriting, how to make it look good. Forget it, you keep writing. I'm here to say goodbye today. Xian Tianyi put down the paper and said. Without looking up, Guwen asked, where are you going? Xian Tianyi replied, to the demon land to find the evil demon. The Holy Land is leading us. Guwen nodded and said, be very careful, don't be complacent because of your cultivation level. You brat, how dare you lecture me? I've roamed the oceans, unlike you who stay in the Supreme Sect all day. Don't worry, I can't possibly die. I'm invincible below the immortal path. Xian Tianyi stood up, full of spirit, and said. Guwen looked at him and asked, what if you encounter an immortal path being? Then I'll die gloriously. Xian Tianyi said, turning to leave. At the door, he looked back and urged, write faster, I want to see if your book can surpass investiture of the gods. He pushed the door open and left. Guwen did not get up to see him off. Surpass investiture of the gods? Guwen chuckled, continuing to write. As dusk approached, he finally left the third medicine valley. Late at night, in the mountains and forests, wearing animal skins, Zhang Buku strolled forward, carrying a stone axe at his waist. His eyes were fixed on the firelight on the mountain, where there was a temple, illuminated by firelight and an inexplicably familiar aura. He had left the cave a month ago, heading north, seeking opportunities in the demon land. Along the way, he had hardly interacted with cultivators or demons, making him very nervous as he cautiously approached the mountain. Soon he entered the temple. It was large, with Zhang Buku standing in the outer courtyard, hesitating. The firelight was just behind a wall. Since you're here, come over and meet. A voice came from the other side of the courtyard wall. Hearing this, Zhang Buku breathed a sigh of relief and leaped over the wall. He landed in front of the fire, scrutinizing the black-clad man sitting opposite. The man had a stern face, and beside him was a noticeable heavy sword. While Zhang Buku observed Liya was also observing him. My name is Zhang Buku. May I know your name, Taoist friend? Zhang Buku cupped his fists and said. He could sense the person before him was very strong, but now he was no longer the same as before. He was only somewhat nervous, not afraid. Liya replied, my name is Liya. Why do you have half-demon energy in you? Zhang Buku answered, my father is human, my mother is a demon. Are you the same as me? Liya? That name sounded familiar. Upon hearing his question, Liya glared at him and snorted, "Of course not. I only consumed a demon treasure, having the power of demon blood." Zhang Buku felt a bit disappointed upon hearing this. Noticing the stone axe at Zhang Buku's waist, Liya stood up and smiled, "Kid, how about we spar a bit?" Since witnessing Sword Venerable Fudeo's vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword, he had understood the Taizong divine shocking sword better. He had been diligently practicing for half a year, eager to test it out. Zhang Buku instinctively touched the stone axe at his waist and asked, "Are we really just sparring?" Liya nodded, "Just sparring, no life-threatening moves. I've been practicing my swordsmanship for half a year and want to test it." Zhang Buku's eyes lit up and he smiled. "To be honest, I've been practicing hard for some time too. Alright, let's go." Chapter 194. Be careful. Sword Venerable Fudao pats your shoulder in the dark night. Strong winds arose, and the forest swayed violently. The flames of the temple flickered with the wind, and dust billowed up from the foot of the hill. Liya crashed into the forest, his body smashing through the mountain wall, and the dust quickly engulfed him. His North Sea heavy sword flew hundreds of feet away, piercing a 1,000-year-old tree and splitting its trunk. Zhang Buku hovered in the air, holding a stone axe in one hand. He looked nervously down and asked, "Taoist friend Liya, are you all right?" Liya's sword intent was so strong that he had to use the heaven-cutting divine axe. He was happy when he struck Liya down, but then he got worried, fearing that he might have killed him. The two had met by chance. He never killed those without grievance or enmity. Zhang Buku waved his left hand, dispersing the dust below, and looked at Liya lying among the shattered mountain wall. Liya hung his head low, covered in blood. That blow from the axe had almost split his body apart. Fortunately, he had taken the dragon image divine primordial, otherwise, he wouldn't have survived. Zhang Buku quickly flew to Liya's side, panicking and unsure of what to do. Liya struggled to raise his head, closing one eye and gritting his teeth. "What kind of monster are you? I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. I really didn't mean to. It's just that you were too powerful, I had to give my all," Zhang Buku hurriedly explained. Hearing this, Liya felt slightly consoled. But he still felt miserable. Fortunately, the ancestor's soul remained at 3 Pure Ones Mountain, otherwise, it would have been a complete disgrace. Afterwards, with Zhang Buku's assistance, Liya landed, sat cross-legged, and began cultivating energy to heal his injuries. Zhang Buku went to retrieve his North Sea heavy sword. An hour later, Liya opened his eyes, looking at the uneasy Zhang Buku beside him, feeling somewhat helpless. If Zhang Buku had been flaunting his victory, he could still be angry, but Zhang Buku's respectful attitude left him with nothing to blame. After all, it was he who suggested the sparring. "How old are you?" Liya asked. 71. At 97 years old, Liya felt wounded once again. At that moment, he truly understood what it meant to always have someone better. Losing to an Hao, he could accept, as an Hao was renowned. But losing to an unknown half-human, half-demon in the wild made him feel terrible. Suppressing his pain, Liya asked, "Who is your master?" Zhang Buku scratched his head, saying, "I don't have a master, though I do have an uncle. But all my skills were learned in a cave." "A cave?" Liya thought of the encounters his ancestor had mentioned. He didn't expect someone to be so fortunate, surpassing decades of his hard work by sheer chance. Seeing him puzzled, Zhang Buku began to recount his experiences, omitting Gu An's existence. As he had promised not to cause trouble for Gu, and listening to Zhang Buku's story, Liya felt even more speechless. Where did this sparrow come from? Why hadn't he encountered it? Although he was known as the person of heavenly destiny in the Li family, blessed with great chi fortune, he felt vastly inferior compared to Zhang Buku. The two, now familiar through their fight, continued their conversation. Far away, tens of thousands of miles away, Guan, who was slaying demons, smiled and then turned to walk into the darkness. After staying in the temple for 2 days, Zhang Buku and Liya joined hands to head north, seeking opportunities in the demon land. During that period, Zhang Buku offered to teach his axe technique to Liya, which deeply touched him. However, determined to concentrate on swordsmanship, Liya declined, realizing that his loss wasn't due to his swordsmanship but because Zhang Buku's physique was far stronger. Liya began to wonder if accompanying Zhang Buku might lead to great opportunities. If junior brother Gu knew he was seriously injured again, he would surely worry about him. Time flew by, and a year passed quickly. In early May of that year, Gu An's total lifespan reached 10 million years, and the demons in the 3 dynasties had become scarce. He no longer descended the mountain, returning to his former farming life. Although the trend of seeking opportunities northward was rising, the number of new disciples recruited by the Supreme Sect each year continued to grow, keeping the sect lively. This year, the number of servant disciples in the 3rd Medicine Valley exceeded 600, a quarter of whom were new. Those who left had been promoted thanks to the foundation establishment pills bestowed by Guan. As a result, Gu An's network within the Supreme Sect grew wider. Now, whenever he went to Outer Gate City, disciples would always greet him. The number of servant disciples in the Mystic Valley also reached 50. When Guan wanted to expand the Medicine Valley, the Outer Sect Great Elder LV Songhan readily agreed. Gu An's book, Shattering Void, had brought him many benefits, and combined with the LV family's backing, he would comply with most of Gu An's requests. One day, Guan came to the North Sea Mountain, embodying the mountain god, to inspect Sage Xian Miao's progress over time. Sage Xian Miao had also recruited some minor demons to assist, giving him more time for cultivation. When the mountain god arrived, he immediately rose to welcome him and accompanied the mountain god to pick medicinal herbs. During this process, he mentioned some recent events in the North Sea Mountain. Though the demon disaster had ended, cultivators often fought over treasures and grudges. He saved many people in the name of the mountain god, hoping to spread the mountain god's name. Interestingly, although the mountain god's name was widely known, only Sage Xian Miao could sense Gu An's presence. Guan speculated that it was because others hadn't seen him, while those, like Jin Qin and other disciples of the law enforcement hall, who had seen him, did not worship him. The disciples of the Supreme Sect only revered Sword Venerable Fudao. Mountain God, what do you think of the Holy Land? Sage Xian Miao suddenly asked, his expression slightly tense. While picking medicinal herbs, Guan replied, "Why do you ask?" Sage Xian Miao answered, "I always felt the demon disaster was related to the Holy Land and the recent rumors about the evil demon. I found in some historical records of 3 Pure Ones Mountain that the evil demon appeared only after the birth of the demon ancestor. There's no clue about where he came from or why he came. Didn't 3 Pure Ones Mountain also claim to be a holy land? If you suspect something, why not investigate the 7 Stars Spirit Realm?" Guan asked nonchalantly. Did Sage Xian Miao want him to act against the 7 Stars Spirit Realm? That was impossible. Before fully understanding the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, Guan wouldn't act rashly. Sage Xian Miao stepped forward and whispered, "We did investigate before, but it resulted in a near-catastrophic disaster. Since then, 3 Pure Ones Mountain no longer dares to mention the Holy Land. Even my master stays apprehensive about them." Guan wasn't surprised. The land of the 3 dynasties had undergone numerous dynastic changes and sect upheavals, yet only the 7 Stars Spirit Realm persisted. Surely, there were those who suspected it but didn't dare offend it. "Be careful tonight, their people are coming for you," Guan suddenly said with a smile, catching Sage Xian Miao off guard. Gu An's visit to gather medicinal herbs today was because he sensed 2 Mahayana realm presences approaching the North Sea Mountain, one of whom had set off from the Supreme Sect. Sage Xian Miao wanted to ask more, but Guan refused to say anything. After gathering the herbs, Guan took a portion, leaving the rest for him, and then disappeared into the forest. Sage Xian Miao became restless, anticipating an encounter with people from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm that night. At dusk, the North Sea shimmered. Ji Xianling stood at the shore, holding a book with the words, "Sword Venerable Legend," on its cover. Out of nowhere, a figure appeared beside him, a man dressed in a gold-threaded red robe, with a ruby-embedded headpiece burning with golden-red flames. His right hand was placed behind his waist, and arrogance marked his brows. "Why are you slower than me?" Ji Xianling asked nonchalantly. Lin Chen stared at Ji Xianling and snorted, "That's what I should be asking you." He shifted his tone and asked, "After staying at the Supreme Sect for a year, any information on Sword Venerable Fudao?" "The information is in my hand. Do you want to see it?" Ji Xianling raised the book in his hand, smiling. Lin Chen immediately confiscated the book, quickly scanning it with his divine sense. He looked up at Ji Xianling and said coldly, "Are you mocking me?" Ji Xianling raised his chin and said, "Lin Chen, who told you that I came to the Supreme Sect to investigate Sword Venerable Fudao?" Lin Chen frowned. Ji Xianling continued, "The higher-ups want to be on friendly terms with Sword Venerable Fudao. He's likely at Loose Immortal Realm 9 layers or even higher. Such a great cultivator couldn't have appeared out of nowhere. He might be from a great sect overseas. Lin Senior's death was indeed unfortunate, but it's his fault for not being strong enough. If someone like him, a Loose Immortal, had to die, I advise you to give up on this idea." Lin Chen sneered coldly, "So your faction prefers to endure humiliation? Sword Venerable Fudao dared to kill my father. Are you sure he has respect or goodwill towards the 7 Stars Spirit Realm?" Ji Xianling shrugged. "Why don't you ask him yourself? I don't want to court death. Honestly, our family sent me here to recruit the Supreme Sect, which means recruiting Sword Venerable Fudao." Lin Chen's eyes flashed with anger. He threw the book against Ji Zunling's chest and turned to leave. Ji Xianling grabbed the book, smirking, "I'll be dark soon. Be careful if Sword Venerable Fudao pats you on the shoulder." Lin Chen stopped and looked back at him, while Ji Xianling raised the book. Next, Lin Chen vanished into thin air. Ji Xianling smiled and then sat down to continue reading. At night, Lin Chen arrived at the Mountain God Temple where Sage Xian Miao resided to inquire about the Mountain God, suspecting that the Mountain God was Sword Venerable Fudao. How could 2 such great cultivators appear simultaneously in the land of 3 dynasties? As a disciple of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, he had never seen any mention of the Mountain God in ancient records. Lin Chen expressed that the Holy Land wished to recruit the Mountain God and sent him here for this purpose. Sage Xian Miao was cautious towards him, merely stating that the Mountain God's whereabouts were elusive, and he wished to see the Mountain God himself, which was why he had built the temple there. After inquiring for a long while and getting no satisfactory answers, Lin Chen felt a murderous intent but held back, fearing the Mountain God might be nearby. He suddenly noticed the small wooden figure in Sage Xian Miao's hand and asked, "Is this the Mountain God's wooden figure? Can you give it to me?" Sage Xian Miao had leisurely carved many small wooden figures of the Mountain God, intending to spread the Mountain God's name. He tossed the wooden figure to Lin Chen. Lin Chen said no more, taking the wooden figure and leaving. Burdened with thoughts, he walked through the forest at night, his eyes fixed on the wooden figure in his hand, increasingly convinced that the Mountain God might be Sword Venerable Fudao, his eyes filled with uncontrollable killing intent. Chapter 195. I've spilled the beans. Lin Chen harbors hostility toward you and loathes you to the bone. Would you like to perform a lifespan detection on him? As Guwen was writing in the Mystic Valley Pavilion, a line of text suddenly appeared before his eyes. He frowned and chose to perform a lifespan detection on Lin Chen. Lin Chen, Mahayana Realm, 2nd layer 634/4500/4700, Mahayana Realm, 2nd layer? Guwen immediately extended his divine sense toward the North Sea Mountain, because there was a cultivator with a Mahayana Realm 2nd layer cultivation there. He quickly caught sight of Lin Chen's figure, who happened to be holding a small wooden figure that bore an exact resemblance to his own. No wonder it triggered the lifespan hostility warning. Guwen didn't take action right away. Instead, he expanded the range of his divine sense to ensure that no heaven and earth flying immortal realm cultivators were nearby. Under the cover of night, Lin Chen tossed the small wooden figure into his storage bag, feeling that he couldn't rush in avenging his father. Since he couldn't determine if the Mountain God was Sword Venerable Fudao, he could only turn his attention to the Supreme Sect. He didn't dare confront Sword Venerable Fudao directly. What he thought about now was how to incite conflict between the heaven and earth flying immortal realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. If he could uncover Sword Venerable Fudao's true identity, and if Sword Venerable Fudao wasn't strong enough to be untouchable by the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, then Sword Venerable Fudao would surely die. Lin Shen took a deep breath. Just as he was about to leap into the air, a hand rested on his shoulder. He was overcome with a feeling of falling into an abyss, his spiritual power freezing instantly. His pupils widened, a wave of indescribable terror rising in his heart. The sky's getting darker, beware of Sword Venerable Fudao patting your shoulder. Ji Zunling's words echoed in his ears. At this moment he was petrified with terror. Unable to move, he wanted to plead for mercy, but he couldn't even open his mouth. The mysterious hand pressed firmly on his shoulder, making no further move, which only compounded his fear, plunging his heart into despair. Suddenly, from behind came a sigh. Lin Shen couldn't help but feel a strange kind of relief. Did the other person not intend to kill him? Boom! An overwhelming divine sense rushed into his mind, causing him to lose consciousness instantly. With the turn of the ancient hour, Guan walked down the stairs, joining the disciples for exercises. Last night he reaped 384 years of lifespan, but more importantly he gathered crucial information. Within the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, there were two attitudes towards Sword Venerable Fudao. One was to investigate his identity and, if he was not insurmountable, find a way to lure him out and then annihilate him. The second was to actively recruit him, compensating for the loss of startling immortal Lin and covering up their crimes. The latter was primarily worried that Sword Venerable Fudao might be associated with maritime forces. The Lin family's strongest force was only a loose immortal, and the death of startling immortal Lin was a severe blow to them, severing their upward path. Their hatred for Sword Venerable Fudao was profound, continuously pushing for revenge within the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. However, the higher-ups' attitude was ambiguous, forcing Lin Shen, as the direct offspring of the startling immortal Lin, to leave the territory to investigate Sword Venerable Fudao. This intelligence was favorable for Guan. At least, it confirmed that without knowing his true identity, the heaven and earth flying immortal realm wouldn't act recklessly, allowing him to continue biding his time. Notably, the current 7 Stars spirit realm on the continent was mainly led by the 6 Stars Cave. The Lin and Ji families originated from the 6 Stars Cave, but continent geniuses could only enter the 7 Stars Cave for cultivation. The 5-star caves above them were all overseas. This heightened Guan's wariness towards the 7 Stars spirit realm. He was facing a power far surpassing the ephemera sect. The 7 Stars spirit realm was not only stronger but maintained a Holy Land image, executing their plans seamlessly, making it difficult for an individual to shake their foundation. Even if heaven and earth flying immortal could sweep through the 6 Stars Cave and 7 Stars Cave, how would one face the 5-star caves above? Guan cast aside these thoughts, focusing on his practice, listening to the disciples discuss their plans for the day. His mood lightened. Why worry so much? His identity was well hidden. As long as he didn't reveal himself, the 7 Stars spirit realm wouldn't dare act rashly. Cherish the present. Have you heard? Next year, there's going to be the world's best Sword Dao tournament. A female disciple suddenly spoke, stirring everyone's interest. They began discussing the world's best Sword Dao tournament. Guan occasionally interjected, appearing very enthusiastic, dreaming of the tournament. After all, outwardly, he was just a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. Next year, he planned to advance to the 9th layer of Foundation Establishment. Then, after turning 100, he would form his core. Forming a core before the age of 100 marked a genius. Doing so afterward painted him as a mediocre cultivator relying on elixirs to break through. Near noon, Yi Lan came to find him. Senior brother, Zhen Qin has dramatically changed over the past 2 years, becoming silent and introspective. I can't understand her lately. I've noticed her investigating the ghost mother of ephemera. Could she still have lingering feelings for Su Han? Yi Lan said anxiously after closing the door. Guan knew the reason but couldn't disclose it, nor could he stop Zhen Qin from seeking revenge. Currently, the ghost mother of Ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 Evil were following Jiang Qiong into the Great Jiang Dynasty, establishing a sect named Juhua Sect, without much notoriety. Zhen Qi needed to face life on her own to grow better. Of course, if she ever confronted the ghost mother of Ephemera and couldn't win, Guwen would protect her, as she hadn't deviated from the right path. She's grown up and has her own thoughts. Don't worry too much, Guwen comforted. Yi Lan came closer, speaking in a low voice. I always feel she has a higher cultivation hidden. Could she have been possessed? Or did she take a mysterious master? Senior brother, don't you have connections with Sword Venerable Fudao? Can you ask him to investigate? Guwen shook his head. I haven't seen him for a long time. Remember, do not mention Sword Venerable Fudao. His name carries too much weight now. Many strong enemies might be plotting against him. With our cultivation level, we can't involve ourselves, or we will be doomed. As he spoke, he released mana from his feet, isolating the room to prevent eavesdropping. Yi Lan nodded. I understand. I never dare to mention it, only to you. Her steadiness reassured Guwen. Most importantly, Yi Lan's activity range was within his divine sense. The Foundation Establishment realm cultivators of the Supreme Sect could never escape his divine sense range for life. Such was the brutal reality of cultivation differences. Yi Lan began talking about other matters, mainly about some trivial issues in the law enforcement hall. Guwen listened intently. When she finished, Guwen said, If you're uncomfortable, let me know. They'll find you a better position. Yi Lan raised an eyebrow. Senior brother, do you really have that capability? She knew about the Third Medicine Valley's existence but couldn't access specific details about it. She wasn't sure how much Guwen contributed to the Supreme Sect. She even suspected Guwen of growing medicinal herbs for Sword Venerable Fudao, which explained why he often left Mystic Valley. Guwen pulled out a book, tossing it onto the table. I'm revealing my cards. It was the initial draft of Investiture of the Gods, a treasured edition without a cover. Yi Lan's face turned pale instantly. She asked in a trembling voice, Senior brother, did you write that book? Guwen crossed his arms, raising his chin arrogantly. Yi Lan glared at Guwen, angrily asking, Senior brother, if you had such great needs, why did you reject me? Is your heart set on someone in the valley? Guwen was stunned, taken aback by her sudden outburst. He looked down, realized something, and quickly picked up Investiture of the Gods. Flipping it open, look closely. Junior sister, what are you thinking all day? Senior brother must criticize you a bit. Yi Lan only needed to glance at a couple of lines to recognize the book. She widened her eyes in shock. You wrote Investiture of the Gods? Are you Panin? Guwen shook his head, giving her a look that said he couldn't believe her misunderstanding. Her face turned red. She circled the table, grabbing his shoulders and gently shaking him. Senior brother, she said coquettishly. 2 ancient hours later, Yi Lan opened the door and walked downstairs. Lu Jiujia saw her and smiled, greeting her. Yi Lan kept a stern face, nodded slightly, and then flew away using her sword. Lu Jiujia was used to her demeanor. After all, staying in the law enforcement hall for a long time tended to make one serious. Days of leisure passed by. Guwen wandered among the various medicine valleys, occasionally visiting the outer gate city and inner sect city, living a comfortable life. However, the increasing demonic qi from afar indicated the day when the evil demon would break the seal was approaching. Guwen hesitated whether he should break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm early to avoid mishaps. After thinking it over, he decided to break through at sea by the end of the year. Better safe than sorry. Summer gave way to autumn. Because of the upcoming World's Best Sword Dao tournament, more sword cultivators started arriving at the Supreme Sect, causing sword competition signs to appear around Mystic Valley. Fortunately, Sword Venerable Fudao was hidden in the nearest outer gate city, deterring these sword cultivators from bullying the servant disciples. After noon in the Third Medicine Valley, Guwen stood with his hands behind his back, watching the disciples sweeping the grounds. The white spirit rat was frolicking in a pile of fallen leaves, infuriating an Exon but always eluding her capture. Everything felt perfect. Gu N's lips curved into a smile. As he was appreciating the beautiful scene, he suddenly sensed something and turned to look north. Beyond 3 dynasties, a strange heavenly aura appeared above a river that cut through the mountains. It resembled the celestial aura that appeared when Lu Lingjun ascended. Someone else was ascending? Guan thought to himself. He sensed this celestial aura was slightly stronger than when Lu Lingjun ascended, but not strong enough to make him wary. He previously speculated Lu Lingjun's successful ascension was due to his presence nearby during his breakthrough. Would there be special circumstances around this ascender? Gu N's divine sense began scanning the forests within a 1,000-mile radius, his gaze suddenly locking onto a stele hidden in the grass. The stele contained restrictions only breakable by Mahayana realm cultivators, concealed without any leakage of aura. Interesting. Guan had no intention of investigating further, as he already saw many great cultivators heading toward the place where the ascender would descend. Besides great cultivators, there were also low cultivation individuals, such as Li Ya and Zhang Buku. Seeing Li Ya's figure, Gu An's expression turned peculiar. Why did he feel like Li Ya was going to get hurt again? Speaking of which, Zhang Buku was frequently injured in recent years. Eve. Chapter 196, Being Someone's Mount After Ascending? The demon lands in autumn were covered with golden leaves, like a sea of gold. Li Ya stood on the North Sea heavy sword, flying through the air, while Zhang Buku stood behind him, staring into the distance. Zhang Buku saw a figure in the distance flying towards the horizon at a speed far beyond theirs, the powerful aura of their cultivation level making him secretly astonished. Brother Li, are we really going to get involved in this mess? Zhang Buku couldn't help but ask. Li had been his first friend. This past year, they had ventured through the demon lands together, facing life and death, forming a deep bond, but it was easy to get hurt. Even though they often got injured, being able to rely on each other was far better than going it alone. The fierce wind blew against Li Ya's face, and he showed a smile on his handsome and resolute face. He said, "So many great cultivators are rushing there, let's go take a look. We won't fight yet, well, observe quietly. If there's no opportunity, well, just watch the excitement, but if there is one, all the better." Zhang Buku heard this and found it reasonable. He looked ahead, eyes showing a hint of anticipation. On the other side, Guan was not continuously watching the Ascension Land but had begun to busy himself. He was preparing to expand Nianchu Cave. Nianchu Cave, watched over by Tian Yao, truly belonged to him. Apart from the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, the other medicine valleys were mostly exposed, making direct expansion difficult. He entered Nianchu Cave and used his own mana to enlarge it. Tian Yao watched Gu An's back, her little mouth opened wide, while Tian Qing and Tian Bai squatted on her shoulders, shaking their heads as they watched Guan. Guan walked in front of the mountain wall, his right hand leading the way, and with each step, the mountain wall ahead would cave in without any rocks falling or the cave shaking. This ability left Tian Yao's eyes wide with amazement. She always knew Guan was strong but hadn't realized just how formidable. Even after training for many years, she couldn't comprehend Gu An's divine skills. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Nianchu Cave had doubled in size. Since Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was particularly large, it wouldn't affect the mountain body, and further expansions by 10 times would be no problem in the future. Guan arrived at a stone table, placed down a storage bag and said, "These are all seeds, up to you to plant them. Don't disappoint me." Without waiting for Tian Yao to respond, he vanished into thin air. Tian Yao didn't look at the storage bag but instead mimicked Gu An's earlier posture, raising her right hand and carefully recalling his movements. The moon set and the sun rose, ushering in a new day. In the third Medicine Valley, Guan put down his pen and stood by the window, looking at the demon lands. After the Ascenders arrived last night, that stele triggered a restriction, opening an entrance to a minor heaven and earth, where all the great cultivators swarmed in. Early this morning, many people had flown out and started fighting, including Li Ya and Zhang Buku. In the mountain forests by the riverbank, Leah lay bloodied amongst the fallen trees, staring at the overbearing figure high in the distant sky, clenched his teeth, and struggled to stand up. Haha, so this is the ability of the great heavenly spirit land? Nothing more. I don't know whether I ascended to the wrong place or if this world is just so weak. The speaker was a man with blood-red hair, 2 curved black horns on his head, bare-chested, in black pants, with a fiery red sash around his waist, crawling with strange blood-colored runes. With his spiritual power surging, the runes wriggled, lifelike. He wielded a silver rod, sweeping it at the great cultivators attacking from all directions. Blood flames erupted, sweeping across the sky in a spectacular display, forcing those great cultivators back. He vanished into thin air, appearing instantly behind a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm, and smashed down with his rod. Boom! The great cultivator plunged into the river, their life or death uncertain. Zhang Buku quickly flew to Li Ya's side, also severely injured but not as badly. He said in a deep voice, "Brother Li, we should retreat." Though reluctant, Li Ya could only nod. The two supported each other, flying away, with mad laughter and the sounds of heaven and earth clashing coming from behind. That guy deliberately didn't kill, specifically tormenting opponents. The more they suffered, the more excited he became, like a mad demon. Runaway ants, remember the name of this one. This one is honored as the Great Saint. You all may call this one the Blood Prison Great Saint. Hearing this, Zhang Buku immediately accelerated, fearing the Blood Prison Great Saint would chase them. In fact, the Blood Prison Great Saint was indeed watching Li Ya and Zhang Buku. He was very interested in these two guys with half-human, half-demon blood. Especially Zhang Buku, whose chi blood was so strong it seemed he was hiding a cultivation level, and his axe technique was also impressive. After a while, with no one left standing around, the Blood Prison Great Saint smacked his lips, looking at the white light whirlpool hovering over the distant forest, hesitated, then flew off in another direction. That direction was where Zhang Buku and Li Ya had fled. An ancient hour later, Zhang Buku and Li Ya landed in a dense forest shrouded in thick fog, with rich spiritual energy, perfect for hiding. After landing, Li Ya began to set up a formation, with Zhang Buku merely watching, not knowing the technique. When Li Ya finished setting up the formation, they both sat down and exhaled in relief. Li Ya grinned, even with a face full of blood. His excitement was evident. He raised his right hand, pulling a fist-sized golden fruit from his storage bag. With this, our efforts weren't in vain, Li Ya said contentedly. Zhang Buku wiped the blood and sweat from his face, saying admiringly, "Brother Li, you're amazing. You were so fast those great cultivators didn't notice you seeing the treasure. We're brothers, half each. I can feel the power within this fruit. It's definitely a treasure that can transform the body." Li Ya laughed proudly, enjoying Zhang Buku's gaze. Although he couldn't beat Zhang Buku in combat, he could play the big brother in actions. As they excitedly talked, little did they know, several miles away, the Blood Prison Great Saint was silently approaching, already hearing their conversation, and Li Ya's formation was as good as non-existent to him. The Blood Prison Great Saint's mouth curled up in a sneer. At that moment, a hand rested on his shoulder, instantly freezing his demonic power, and his body could no longer move forward. His eyes widened, instinctively wanting to struggle, but he was entirely powerless. How could this be? What realm was this opponent? The Blood Prison Great Saint panicked. He had never been so suppressed before, with even his divine sense unable to spread out, clueless about who was behind him. Naturally, it was Guan, who had used the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Before attacking, Guan ensured that no one was following the Blood Prison Great Saint. Blood Prison Great Saint, Mahayana Realm 8th Floor 1209/9000/9999, Mahayana Realm 8th Floor, far stronger than Lu Lingjun. Guan immediately used the soul-capturing skill to search the Blood Prison Great Saint's memories. The Blood Prison Great Saint hailed from the spirit realm, a mortal world with 9 continents and 7 seas, where the Mahayana realm was the highest realm. He had been a cultivator of the human race, later transforming into a demon body after obtaining divine beast true blood, completely unleashing his talent, sweeping through those of the same realm, even able to battle across realms, invincible. Interestingly, although the Blood Prison Great Saint's name sounded terrifying, he was actually a soft-hearted individual. As long as there wasn't a blood feud, he would spare those who knelt and begged for mercy after defeat. He had never committed an evil act in his life. His notorious name stemmed from his foul mouth. His threatening boasts made many believe he had committed those evil acts, compounded by slander from enemies, gradually earning him the Blood Prison Great Saint title, which he proudly saw as the fear and dread of the spirit realm's beings, his greatest achievement. After reading his soul, Guin unexpectedly didn't want to kill this guy anymore. With no one watching him, he could take him in. Because Guin saw the divine beast's true form whose blood was absorbed. With the fall of the demon ancestor, many demons were slaughtered, and the demon lands had become a place where the human race sought opportunities, with great cultivators fighting everywhere. The focus of the seven-star spirit realm was on the evil demons, ignoring the Blood Prison Great Saint, perhaps having seen countless ascenders. The Blood Prison Great Saint's consciousness gradually awakened, feeling a heavy and uncomfortable drowsiness. He struggled to open his eyes, seeing a large tree with a man sitting on the grass in front of it, holding a book. He abruptly opened his eyes wide, trying to teleport away, but only managed to stand up, not jump away. He seemed to realize something, his eyes showing panic. He had turned into a red-furred bull, almost as tall as a grown man. He wanted to speak, but all that came out was a moo. The most despairing thing was that his cultivation level was gone. This must be the path of returning primordial spirit. Guin had sealed his cultivation to the energy cultivation realm, with mana wrapping his demon core and primordial spirit, making him appear no more than a first-order demon beast. Ascender from the spirit realm, if you serve me for 1,000 years, I'll let you go. Guin put down his book and said leisurely. Looking at his youthful face, the Blood Prison Great Saint felt only fear. Guin stood up and walked toward him, making him retreat in fear. Without his cultivation, how could he dare escape? Eventually, he was caught by Guin and humiliatingly ridden. Guin sat on his back, patting him, pointing in a direction. He could only move forward. By dusk, Guin had ridden the Blood Prison Great Saint back to the Mystic Valley. With his dark red fur and majestic body, he instantly drew the curiosity of numerous disciples, who gathered around, pointing. The Blood Prison Great Saint was dazed. With his divine sense sealed, he had worried all the way about which demon cave he would be taken to. These cultivators' chi blood was so weak, seemingly all in the energy cultivation realm. He felt like he had arrived in some small place in the spirit realm. As Guin introduced him to the disciples with a smile, this feeling of illusion became a mix of complex emotions. He was the Blood Prison Great Saint, the most outstanding genius of the spirit realm in 10,000 years, sweeping the 9 continents and 7 seas, reigning invincible, earning the title of Great Saint through his battles. After ascending, he had become a mount? The Blood Prison Great Saint sank into bewilderment. Chapter 197. The ambition of the Supreme Sect. Guin flaunted his new mount, attracting the disciples' curiosity towards the Blood Prison Great Saint, causing him to feel quite oppressed. But fearing Guin, he could only endure. Even Chu Jingfeng, who usually practiced swordsmanship on the mountaintop, came to join the fun. He had seen many mounts, but it was his first time seeing such an imposing ox. Its large horns were impressive, and its fur fluttered like flames in the wind. After lingering in the Mystic Valley for an hour, Guin took the Blood Prison Great Saint back to the Third Medicine Valley. He planned to take the Blood Prison Great Saint with him wherever he went around the Supreme Sect. Now, the number of cultivators in the Supreme Sect was increasing, and it was possible to see cultivators riding their mounts in the sky. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley were equally interested in the Blood Prison Great Saint. The presence of such spiritual energy in this valley amazed the Blood Prison Great Saint, as such a level of spiritual energy was rare even in the spirit realm, making him look forward to the days ahead. Since he came, he might as well find peace. But just one night later, that thought was replaced by anger. There was an incredibly fat old rat in the Medicine Valley. Damn it, it was infuriating. He was napping downstairs when the white spirit rat bit his butt, startling him. As an invincible great saint in his realm, how could he tolerate this? What frustrated him even more was yet to happen. He couldn't catch the white spirit rat. That night was the darkest moment in the blood prison great saint's life. The next day, Guin took the blood prison great saint to Tianya Valley. Why are you riding an ox? Luo Hun approached the blood prison great saint and asked curiously, unable to resist touching its fur. Guin smiled and said, just bought it. How is it? Impressive, right? Indeed, quite nice. What breed is it? I'm not sure either. I call him Bull Demon King. Bull Demon King? That name. Luo Hun shook his head with a smile, while the blood prison great saint lowered his ox eyes, looking dispirited. LV Xian and Ji Ruolai were also attracted to the blood prison great saint and came over to greet Guin. Given the plethora of demon creatures in the world, they didn't inquire much further. Have you seen my third sister lately? Ji Ruolai asked Guin. Guin shook his head and said, no, I rarely go to the inner sect. What's the matter? Need me to deliver a message? Ji Ruolai nodded and said, the family wants to summon her back to the 7 Stars spirit realm. Could you help convey the message? Guin readily agreed and then went to pick medicinal herbs. 3 monkey demons circled the blood prison great saint with great curiosity. Seeing their scratching and sniffing, the blood prison great saint felt they were mocking him, making him even more annoyed. It became even more difficult after ascending for the 3rd day. In late autumn, LV Beiyin came to see Guin. After going upstairs, he habitually closed the door and set up a restriction. After finishing, he approached the desk and sat down, smiling as he asked, is the ox downstairs yours? Its qualifications are a bit lacking. It's just a 1st order. It's not very useful. Do you want me to give you a 3rd order mount? Guin shook his head and smiled, no need. I don't have many enemies. I don't need such a powerful mount. Besides, I have a good eye for this ox. It's quite intelligent. Intelligent? Looking at its eyes, it seems like it's about to be buried. Haha. Guin chuckled without denying. LV Beiyin didn't continue to mock the blood prison great saint and started discussing sect matters. Although the number 1 Sword Dao tournament in the world had not yet taken place, he already looked forward to the next big event. Guin's love for teaching was aroused, and he began to talk at length about various ideas, which LV Beiyin listened to with great interest. Guin not only discussed methods but also envisioned a bright future, making LV Beiyin feel quite pleased. After a long time, taking advantage of Guin drinking tea, LV Beiyin asked, how do you think the Supreme Sect should view demons? During the previous Great Demon Calamity, the Demon Emperor had sent a group of great demons. This group of demons was now still staying in the Supreme Sect, following Di Xie's leadership. The Supreme Sect had not mistreated them, arranging caves for each. Guin responded, sometimes human hearts are worse than demon hearts. Since we are already cultivating to become immortals, why should we have racial prejudice? Why can't the Supreme Sect recruit demon clan disciples? LV Beiyin nodded. He sighed and said, but doing so, wouldn't there be hidden dangers? Everything has its pros and cons. We can't avoid doing something just because we fear the cons. If successful, it can set an example, making the human and demon clans on the mainland no longer be at odds. If it fails, then treat it as a training exercise, suppress it if necessary. Isn't suppression what you were best at in the past? Guin said calmly. With this, he aimed to accumulate strength for the Supreme Sect. The Supreme Sect eventually has to face the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Ji Xianling represented the 7 Stars Spirit Realm in trying to win over the Supreme Sect, but the Supreme Sect only maintained good relations without bowing down, reflecting the attitude of the Hall of Elders. Now, the mentality of the upper echelons of the Supreme Sect had become inflated. They were already thinking about becoming the 2nd Holy Land in the mainland, or even surpassing the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. With Guin's support, LV Beiyin felt much more confident, and the smile on his face became brighter. The two chatted for a long time before LV Beiyin left, satisfied. Downstairs, he looked at the blood prison great saint lying on the ground and became interested. He walked over, patted the blood prison great saint's head, and said with a laugh, "Little beast, cultivate well. One day, you might become a disciple of the supreme sect. Reaching the nascent soul realm is not impossible." The blood prison great saint glanced at him with a white eye, too lazy to respond. This made LV Bayan pause, suspecting he had misseen. Forget it. What's the use of arguing with a beast? LV Bayan stood up and left. The blood prison great saint watched his back, seething with inner rage. "Old thing. Just you wait. Daring to insult me in 1,000 years, I will make you kneel before me and beg for mercy." Snowflakes flew as Guan rode the blood prison great saint, wandering in the third medicine valley. It seemed like he was patrolling, but in reality his divine sense was traveling overseas, looking for a place to break through. An XN ran over, curiously asking, "Master, why do you ride it wherever you go? Don't you think it's slow?" Guan lightly chuckled and said, "I'm training its physique. Although it's my mount, I want mistreat it. Sooner or later, I will release it." Hearing this, the blood prison great saint's eyes brightened, and his ox body became upright, no longer looking like an old dying ox. An Xian nodded. Just as she was about to speak, two figures suddenly flew in from the sky. It was Lu Lingjun and Xinjun. After landing, Xinjun enthusiastically greeted Gu and Lu Lingjun glanced at the blood prison great saint under Gu but didn't pay much attention. Xinjun talked excitedly about their opportunities over the years, making even an Xian listen with envy. Guan also pretended to be emotional, envious, satisfying Xinjun's sense of achievement. Now Xinjun was already at the 5th layer of the nascent soul realm, evidencing the great fortitude. After chatting for a while, Xinjun finally left. Before leaving, she mentioned preparing to publish a book next, which made Guan's heart skip a beat. After Xinjun left, an Xan also didn't disturb Guan and Lu Lingjun, finding an excuse to leave. Lu Lingjun lightly stomped her foot, forming a barrier with her spiritual power, isolating the 3-foot area, making the blood prison great saint look at her again. "Guan, I heard there's an ascender appearing in the north. You are close to the sect leader. Did you find out anything?" Lu Lingjun asked directly. "Ascender." Upon hearing these words, the blood prison great saint couldn't help but lower his head. Such a disgrace. Guan thought for a moment and shook his head. "I haven't heard of it. Why are you so concerned about the ascender?" Lu Lingjun hesitated for a while and said, "To be honest, I'm also an ascender, so I wanted you to write about the shattering void." Guan's eyes widened, showing a look of incredulity. The blood prison great saint looked up again, this time with tears in his eyes. Lu Lingjun had wanted to say this for a long time. The opportunities over the years had made her more confident as she said, "I want to recruit ascenders and build my own network in the Supreme Sect. What do you think?" She knew LV Bayan often visited the Medicine Valley, and she had often heard about LV Bayan's plans from Guan. She also wanted to convey her intentions to LV Bayan through Guan. Guan excitedly said, "Of course, it is a good thing. It will enhance the strength of the Supreme Sect. However, I really don't have any information on that ascender." Hearing this, the blood prison great saint was full of confusion. He could tell now that no one knew the true cultivation level of the person on his back. Moreover, the cultivators he had seen so far were very weak, not even reaching the first-class level in the spirit realm. He couldn't understand why a great cultivator like Guan would hide in such a small place. "In the future, keep an eye out for such information, and I won't treat you unfairly," Lu Lingjun said. She had to devote most of her time to cultivation. Since the appearance of beings in the Mahayana realm and the immortal path, she felt a great urgency, thinking the mystic heart realm was inadequate. Guan nodded with a smile. They had a brief chat before Lu Lingjun left. Guan patted the blood prison great saint, signaling him to continue forward. People always want to go to places they've never been before, but when they arrive, they find it's all the same. When they want to turn back, it's often too late. Guan said leisurely, and the blood prison great saint felt he was speaking to him. Unfortunately, the blood prison great saint couldn't speak, otherwise, He would argue with Guan. If it weren't for meeting you, would I be so aggrieved? The falling snow grew heavier, the ground accumulating more snow. The blood prison great saint left 2 ox hoof prints in the snowy ground as he and Guan disappeared into the vast snow. Until nightfall. Demonland. On the wasteland, Xian Tianyi and An Hao sat facing the fire. The falling snow did not land on them, melting in the 10-foot radius around them, separated from the surrounding snowy ground. Xian Tianyi held a book and softly said, "The demonic qi here is very strong. Maybe we'll find evil demons hiding nearby." And Hao was practicing his skills. He opened his eyes and asked, "Senior, what should we do when we find the evil demon?" After the trend of heading north swept the world, he couldn't restrain his restless heart anymore. Saying goodbye to Sienna, he ventured north alone. His goal was to become an immortal and not stay in one place for any person indefinitely. Xian Tianyi answered, "Then you take the information back. I will stay here alone." "Why would you stay?" "I also want to play the hero. I can't always rely on Sword Venerable Fudao, can I?" As he spoke, Xian Tianyi turned to the next page and continued to read. Chapter 198. Master understands you deep in the night. Inside the Mystic Valley Pavilion, candlelight flickered, and hot tea was brewing. Zhen Qin sat dazedly on a small stool, staring at the teapot and lost in thought. Guan was writing a book. After he finished a page, he started to appreciate it, feeling increasingly pleased with his work. "Disciple, come and have a look." Guan's voice interrupted Zhen Qin's thoughts. Zhen Qin quickly stood up, walked to his side, took the page from his hand, and read it attentively. "The 7 great saints. Great sage who pacifies heaven, Bull Demon King?" Zhen Qin couldn't help but look at Guan and asked, "Master, isn't your bull downstairs the Bull Demon King? Did you write him into the book?" Guan chuckled and asked, "Is that not allowed?" "Of course it is, but your writing style." Zhen Qin nodded, her expression a bit hesitant. Does Master have such talent? Upon thinking about it, she realized that since Master didn't cultivate, he must have time for music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. After finishing reading, she handed the page back to Guan and said, "It's very well written. Just this part alone feels no worse than the investiture of the gods. Master, are you planning to publish a book? I hope you can surpass Panin." Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly widened her eyes in astonishment and looked at Guan. "Panin?" Guan, Zhen Qin's expression turned peculiar, and she quickly asked, "Master, could you actually be Panin?" Guan smiled and said, "This is my biggest secret. I'm only telling you. Can you tell Master what's troubling you?" Guan could feel that Zhen Qin came today wanting to share her troubles but was afraid of something, so he revealed his identity as Pan and to draw her out. Although he already knew the truth, he couldn't expose his identity, and what Zhen Qin needed was to confide in someone close by. Zhen Qin gritted her teeth and said, "I'm afraid of dragging Master into this. If you don't say anything and something happens, you'll not only drag me into it, but it will also become my burden. That would harm me more." Guan shook his head. Zhen Qin felt relieved and smiled for the first time. At Guan's gesture, she moved to the other side of the desk and began to talk about Su Han's death. Guan got up to pour tea, and Zhen Qin's gaze followed his back, trying to see his reaction. However, she couldn't see through anything. Had Master already let go of senior brother Su? Zhen Qin thought to herself. She couldn't blame Guan. She owed Su Han for covering for her, but her master owed him nothing. Guan brought a bowl of hot tea in front of her, looking at her calmly as she spoke. When she finished, Guan said, "The deceased have passed. You should live according to his wishes, not inherit his hatred. But, think about what he said to you before he died. What do you think he hoped for you to do?" Guan interrupted her and asked solemnly. Zhen Qin remained silent. Guan continued, "Let alone whether you can defeat the ghost mother of ephemera, the world is so vast. Are you going to spend your whole life searching for her? Cultivate well and experience the world your senior brother wanted to see. Do the things he couldn't achieve. That is truly good for him. There is a divine intent in the unseen world. Your senior brother ultimately attracted a body of sins, but inheriting his power means you share his fate, whether for good or ill. It's all up to your intentions. Zhen Qin was filled with countless thoughts, her expression complex. Guwen was not rushed, he merely provided guidance. To let go, she needed to rely on herself. Zhen Qin looked up at Guwen. Now, in her eyes, he seemed very weak. Since inheriting Su Han's cultivation, Zhen Qin had already formed her nascent soul, and her cultivation level was still growing. It was inevitable she saw others from a superior viewpoint, but tonight, she felt deeply ashamed. What use was mere cultivation level? She took a deep breath and asked, "Master, if I perform good deeds, will it really help senior brother Su?" Guwen answered, "I am not sure, but at least this way, you can free yourself and fulfill his wishes." Zhen Qin chuckled, instantly returning to her usual lively and mischievous demeanor. "Master, you are Panin. You hit it well. Earlier, I even thought you were the author of the Supreme Secret Records." "I am talking nonsense. How could Master be such a person?" "Wait, does she also read the Supreme Secret Records?" Gu An's expression turned peculiar. Shenzhen truly was a scourge, corrupting so many people. Zhen Qin snorted. "Who told Master to love reading Green Hero Travelogue? They are all rumors. Don't believe them." The master and disciple duo began to argue. A long while passed. Guwen spoke, defying fate divine skill, "Master knows. Someone wants to pass it on to me. I can put in a good word for you, allowing you to become a true disciple and embark on a proper immortal cultivation path." Zhen Qin was once again shocked, not expecting her master to have such an opportunity. "Master, who is it? Are they powerful?" Zhen Qin asked curiously. "Sect leader LV Badian, do you think he's powerful?" "Does that mean, Master, you will become a great cultivator of the unification realm in the future?" "I did not agree, and his lifespan is long. Perhaps he will live longer than your master. This matter cannot be spread, to avoid trouble." "I understand, Master. To be honest, I am now a nascent soul realm cultivator. These years, hiding my cultivation level has been really uncomfortable." Zhen Qin began to complain. Guwen laughed and said, "Master understands you." "How do you understand?" "Fine, I do not understand. Can Master hit you for daring to show off to Master?" The master and disciple again started to bicker. It was almost dawn when Zhen Qin finally went downstairs. Passing by the blood prison great saint, she squatted in front of him, stroked his bovine head, and whispered with a laugh, "Little bull, I can now become a nascent soul realm cultivator." Impressive, right? The blood prison great saint opened his eyes and glanced at her. Crazy. He finally understood that this upper realm was full of crazy people. After muttering a few more words, Zhen Qin leaped up and flew toward the outer gate city. It was not until noon that Guwen used his disciple token to contact LV Badian to help change Zhen Qin's disciple status. LV Badian was very interested in the transmission of the defying fate divine skill to Zhen Qin and agreed right away. Another nightfall arrived. That night, Guwen left Mystic Valley, stepping on the limitless freedom step and heading west, crossing mountains and lands, and entering the ocean. Step by step, the distance that a ninth-layer wandering immortal could traverse was immense. This time, he took a full 100 steps and landed on a small continent. Standing on the beach, his divine sense enveloped the continent. He saw many demon creatures, but no cultivators of the human race. This continent should not be sunk by giant sea demons. Guwen walked into the forest. He didn't immediately find a place to break through, but instead took a look around the continent. Meanwhile, in the demon land, in the dim tunnel, Xian Tianyi and Anhao were walking. Anhao was very nervous and kept looking behind him. Cultivators observe with divine sense, not with eyes. Didn't LV Badian teach you that? Walking ahead, Xian Tianyi asked casually. Anhao looked at his back, feeling a bit reassured. This was the only Mahayana realm cultivator in the supreme sect on the surface. In the 3 dynasty regions, he was second only to his master among the cultivators of the human race. Following Xian Tianyi, Even in dangerous situations, they should be able to escape with their lives. And Hao asked, I always feel this journey is too quiet without any demon obstruction, as if they intentionally let us in. Perhaps. Xian Tianyi responded casually. Not long after, the two walked out of the tunnel and arrived at a cliff. Looking out, they saw a vast underground space, with rolling magma below, like a blazing lake. Xian Tianyi looked down at the magma lake, the firelight casting shadows on his face. And Hao also looked down, but his expression was tense. Such dense demonic qi, is the evil demon hiding below? And Hao asked in a low voice. Xian Tianyi said, You've been following for so long. Why don't you come out? As soon as he said this, and Hao was shocked and quickly looked around. Immediately, he saw mysterious figures shrouded in demonic qi emerging from the distant cave walls, 7 in total. Xian Tianyi said softly, I didn't tell you earlier because I was afraid you'd be in danger separated from me. Just watch how I handle these sneaky ones. With that he stepped forward, walking in midair. And Hao remained vigilant, drawing out his treasure sword and keeping an eye on his surroundings. Under the tree, Guan sat in meditation, leaning against the trunk. He had activated the lifespan barrier and looked up through the leaves at the crescent moon in the night sky. Tonight's weather was excellent. It was as if heaven and earth were celebrating for him. Guan's lips curled up as he opened the attribute panel. Name, Guan, lifespan, 96/10376008. Physique, mystic holy body, cultivation level, wandering immortal realm, 9th layer, 10,376,000 years of lifespan. Because of the failure to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm from the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, he needed to wait 20,000 years, so Guan chose to invest 1,000,000 years first. 50 attempts, gambling on a stroke of luck. What if he got lucky? The simulation began. You cultivated energy absorption for 20,000 years. Using the great accomplishment of the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcibly attempted to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You faced the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation but did not survive and failed the tribulation crossing. Failure. Failure. Guan remained calm, first playing with 200,000 years, succeeding would be nice, but failure was acceptable. As expected, all attempts failed. He then invested another 100,000 years. One after another, lines of equally long prompts kept appearing. All failures again, 100 failed tribulation crossings. Another 50 attempts, surely he'd succeed now? More practically identical prompts popped up, and now Guan could no longer keep a straight face. 3,000,000 years of lifespan and still no breakthrough. He couldn't help but look again at the words heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation. He truly wanted to see what this heavenly tribulation looked like. He hoped someone could show him in reality how to overcome the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation someday. Guan took a deep breath and chose to invest 50,000 years of lifespan. Failure. Failure. Consecutive failures struck at Guan's Taoist heart, until a prompt suddenly grew longer. You cultivated energy absorption for 38,000 years. Using the great accomplishment of the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcibly attempted to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You faced the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation and survived, succeeding in the tribulation crossing. Your cultivation level has broken through to the first layer of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. Chapter 199. Breakthrough to the 9th level of heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 390,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the second layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 400,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the third layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 420,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the fourth layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 500,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 8th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. Seeing all the indications fall, Guwen summarized the pattern and invested another 30,000 years of his lifespan, successfully reaching the 9th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. At the same time, nature's spiritual energy already bore into his body, symbolizing the start of his breakthrough. It felt so comfortable. Guwen considered whether to spend another 30,000 years of lifespan to foresee the name of the next realm, but then thought it would be futile, for what use was knowing a name? The surrounding forest began to shake violently as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth descended. The ground beneath Guwen showed signs of a chi-si, and the speed at which spiritual energy entered his body became faster. He began to imagine the heavenly flying immortal realm. What is the difference between a wandering immortal and a heavenly flying immortal? Guwen looked at the sky. In the depths of his mind, he felt it was related to the heavens. After reaching the wandering immortal realm, he could sense a certain power from the heavens suppressing all beings, making it impossible to leave. Wandering immortals could break free from the constraints of heaven and earth rules but could not escape the suppression from the heavenly power above. Boom! The speed at which spiritual energy entered his body reached an unprecedented level, even making Guwen somewhat alarmed. How wide a range of spiritual energy was needed for this? It didn't take long for the entire continent's living creatures to be startled, with birds flying chaotically, beasts fleeing wildly, and the earth trembling. Guwen did not bother to worry about the commotion, as a large amount of immortal insights poured into his body. Heavenly flying immortal. One can leap beyond heaven and earth, roam the universe. One can peep into yin and yang, and control the 5 elements. Upon reaching this level, one must delve into the path of 5 elements to progress further. The heaven and earth primordial skill Guwen practiced was precisely a 5 elements cultivation technique, so his breakthrough went smoothly. His primordial spirit underwent an unprecedented transformation, giving his soul a feeling of joy surpassing any form of pleasure. An hour later, Guwen completely crossed into the heavenly flying immortal realm. The oceans surrounding the continent also erupted into monstrous waves, a scene formed by countless underwater demonic beasts surging, affecting unknowable miles. Guwen opened his eyes, his primordial spirit leaping out of his body. He instinctively wanted to break free from the lifespan barrier, leap out of this heaven and earth, and peek into the higher world. However, he restrained himself. He gazed up at the night sky, his eyes penetrating millions of miles high, and he saw an invisible membrane enveloping the night sky, like a prison cage binding all beings of heaven and earth. He felt he could cross that invisible heavenly layer, but he didn't dare to at the moment. Having no understanding of the world beyond, he couldn't rush there. Suddenly, Guwen spotted that invisible heavenly layer producing ripples. He looked towards the direction from which the ripples came and saw a figure descending from the sky, falling to the end of heaven and earth. Someone arriving from the outer heavens? He dared not look too closely, fearing to disturb the other. He suddenly realized that the world and the outer heavens weren't so isolated. Heavenly flying immortals of this heaven and earth would venture out but also return? He continued to enjoy the process of spiritual energy tempering his body. After the breakthrough, his primordial spirit had already transformed into a flying immortal primordial spirit, capable of slipping into yin and yang. By yin, it did not mean underground but another world contrary to this one. He could see the wandering souls in heaven and earth, and those souls about to enter reincarnation, flying into the sky, and disappearing less than 100,000 miles above, being pulled into the underworld by reincarnation. Guwen could already sense the chilling aura of the underworld, so cold that he didn't wish to trespass. His cultivation level continued to rise. The speed of spiritual energy entering his body still increased, the chi-si on the ground resembling waves ready to engulf him at any moment. His primordial spirit continued to gaze at the sky. An hour later, he saw a heavenly flying immortal escaping into the outer heavens in the distance, confirming even more that this world had other heavenly flying immortals, and reaching the heavenly flying immortal realm did not mean one had to leave this realm. It suggested that the heavenly flying immortal realm might not be the highest realm in this world. No matter what, Gu N's desire to explore the outer heavens was not that intense. Staying in the comfort zone was the safest. Being able to grow stronger, why leave the comfort zone? Time flowed quickly. A full 2 ancient hours passed before Gu N's cultivation level stabilized at the 9th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. The lifespan barrier consumed nearly 700,000 years of lifespan, an exaggeration. The next breakthrough, to fully reinforce, would consume millions of years of lifespan just on the lifespan barrier? A heavy burden and a long path ahead. After the spiritual energy no longer entered his body, and the world returned to calm, Guin slowly stood up. He did not immediately remove the lifespan barrier but sensed his own strength. His mana and senses both underwent a transformation. The 9 heavens of the immortal path, and the gaps thereafter would only grow wider. Guin felt that a wandering immortal couldn't defeat a heavenly flying immortal across realms. Mastering any divine power would not suffice. Elsewhere, in the demon land, within a dark forest, a space rift suddenly appeared, and a severely injured Anhao was tossed out from it. He immediately got up and flew south, constantly calling for his master in his heart, but unfortunately, as before, his master did not appear. Damn it, it's all because I'm too weak. Anhao gritted his teeth, his pride shattered that night. The scenes of Xian Tianyi using a mysterious scroll to send him away kept flashing in his mind, and his ears echoed with Xian Tianyi's ambitious words. Go back, I won't die here, wait for me to return and find you. The more carefree Xian Tianyi appeared, the more worried Anhao became, as those 7 mysterious great cultivators were overwhelmingly powerful. Xian Tianyi was absolutely outmatched. Who exactly are they? What did Senior Xian leave on my back? Anhao thought anxiously and angrily, recalling how before parting, Xian Tianyi slapped him into the space rift. At the moment he was struck, he felt his back burn, and now it itched as though someone were using a small knife to carve words on his back. He felt Senior Xian detected something and left the information on his back, but now he could not use his divine sense to check. Whenever his divine sense approached his back, it was repelled by a mysterious power. He quickly took out a spirit energy elixir and forcefully poured it into his mouth. His gaze became determined. He would definitely return. If Xian Tianyi died, no matter who the murderer was, he would seek revenge for Xian Tianyi. The moon set, and the sun rose. Heaven and earth completely calmed down, and Guin then removed the lifespan barrier and headed towards the Supreme Sect. With just 3 steps, he returned to the Supreme Sect. He returned to the Mystic Valley, came down from the building, and rode the Blood Prison Great Saint towards Tianya Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint could feel his good mood, humming an unfamiliar tune. He had to admit, it sounded quite nice. Guin spread his divine sense, taking in the entire continent, even encompassing the surrounding seas. He began to inspect old friends one by one. Jiang Qiong's Juhua sect seemed very harmonious, and she was practicing in the sect master's mansion. Yi Lan was handling affairs of the law enforcement hall, appearing very different from how she faced Guin, exuding an ice queen temperament. Li Ya and Zhang Buku were being chased by a great demon, appearing dangerous but likely to survive. Guin also saw Anhao, who was escaping. With no pursuers behind, he couldn't be bothered to intervene. His divine sense swept over friends and disciples, and then glanced at the demonic energy-filled land still teeming with many 7-star spirit realm cultivators. Guin felt he could easily break the seal and spy on the evil demon but refrained. The 7-star spirit realm's growth speed couldn't keep up with his own. Unless the 7-star spirit realm actively provoked him, he intended to lay low. Anyway, the 3 Dynasties land was far from the demonic energy land, and unless it was a catastrophic disaster, he preferred not to intervene. After leaving the Mystic Valley's range, the Blood Prison Great Saint suddenly felt his body enveloped by a terrifying power, causing his steps to falter as the surrounding environment changed drastically. They immediately found themselves less than 200 miles away from Tianya Valley. What kind of divine skill was this? The Blood Prison Great Saint marveled internally. It wasn't his first time experiencing this divine skill, but he had no idea how far they had traveled due to being sealed by the path of returning primordial spirit. As the strongest being in the spirit realm, he was trying to sense Gu-An's divine skills to learn, but had yet to figure out the trick. Half a day later, Gu-An again rode the blood prison great saint to arrive at the third medicine valley. The disciples had grown accustomed to seeing him always riding a bull, and some even went to buy first-order mounts in the outer gate city to imitate him, though first-order demon beasts rarely had the presence of the bull demon king. He sensed Shen Zhen's presence, waiting for him in a pavilion. This guy isn't releasing another book so soon, right? Gu-An urged the blood prison great saint to quicken his pace, reaching the pavilion and dismounting. Watching Gu-An's anxious back, the blood prison great saint felt stifled. In such a hurry, couldn't he just walk himself? It was just a few steps. He couldn't understand why Gu-An needed to act weak in front of these minor cultivators, so he lay down to sleep, reliving his invincible moments in his dreams. Entering the room, Gu-An closed the door. Shen Zhen sat on a chair, pointing to a jade scroll on the table with a mysterious smile. Gu-An approached the table and asked, "What is this?" Shen Zhen raised her white chin, proudly smiling. "This is my new work, guaranteed to shock the immortal cultivation world." Gu-An looked skeptical, picking up the jade scroll and probing it with his divine sense. His face instantly turned red and he immediately withdrew his divine sense, incredulously looking at Shen Zhen. You did this?" Gu-An asked, trembling. Could she be a genius? This creation could indeed shock the immortal cultivation world. It was incredible, damn it, it was outrageous. Shen Zhen raised an eyebrow, smiling. "How is it? Isn't the idea of making pictures move like real people amazing?" Gu-An didn't know how to respond. Immortal cultivation world anime? But this anime was too lifelike, no different from real people. Using such design in the Supreme Secret Records plot was truly impactful. Gu-An resisted the tumult in his heart, asking, "Who is the male cultivator in it?" Shen Zhen looked at him, blinking. "I didn't use your face, but thinking of other men was too uncomfortable for me, so I had him wear a mask." Gu-An fell silent. No wonder the mask. Chapter 200. Do you know my cultivation level? Gu-An, suppressing his complicated emotions, asked, "This thing is too groundbreaking, are you really going to do it? The commotion might be bigger than writing a book." In fact, the Supreme Secret Records written by Shen Zhen had always been forbidden by the Supreme Sect. If she were not the holy daughter of the Daotian sect, Gu-An suspected she would have long been captured. Shen Zhen retorted, "I haven't killed or set fires. What's the Supreme Sect going to do, throw me in jail? But you are, after all, a woman. If this gets exposed, how will people see you? How will they view your father or the Daotian sect?" Gu-An spoke earnestly. Shen Zhen's nature wasn't bad, nor did she have any emotional entanglements. Whenever he used his divine sense to survey the world, he would also glance at her. When she wasn't seeking him, she was mostly in her cave cultivating or delving into music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Shen Zhen fixed her gaze on him and asked, "You don't like what I'm doing?" Gu-An responded, "I'm just worried about you." Shen Zhen couldn't help but smile, and she took out a new jade scroll. Handing it to Gu-An, Gu-An hesitated for a moment but still used his divine sense to inspect the jade scroll. Immediately his eyebrows raised. It wasn't just an action illusion, but the process of cultivating divine skills. The person in the jade scroll was Shen Zhen, and it recorded her divine skills cultivation process, even including the meditation spells. After a while, Gu-An withdrew his divine sense, his gaze fixed on Shen Zhen. Shen Zhen hummed, "This is my real creation, isn't it more conducive to inheritance?" Gu-An nodded, saying, "Very good, it gives people more direction during cultivation." With that he placed the two jade scrolls on the table. Shen Zhen began to recount the experience of her and Lu Lingjun's training. They had ventured into the grotto heaven of an ancient great cultivator, filled with dangers, and only after great effort did they obtain the inheritance and treasures. Gu-An listened avidly, occasionally exclaiming in amazement, gratifying Shen Zhen's desire to talk. She loved discussing these things with Gu-An, while talking to others might attract unwanted attention. With Gu-An she enjoyed his praise without that risk. After a long time, Shinjin finally stood up and said, "I'll leave this divine skills jade scroll with you." Before Guin could refuse, she headed for the door and quickly went downstairs. Guin looked at the jade scroll on the table, wanting to call out to Shinjin. "Why not take the other one? Forget it. Had better keep this one to prevent anyone from going astray." Guin had memories of his past life and had long experienced the corruption of this thing. His willpower in this aspect was far beyond that of the people in the immortal cultivation world. He felt it was his duty to bear this mental burden for the cultivators. Elsewhere, Shinjin, upon going downstairs, couldn't resist teasing the blood prison great saint, annoying him greatly. Until nightfall, Guin finally took the blood prison great saint back to Mystic Valley. Late at night, Guin quietly arrived at Nianchu Cave of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Tian Yaoer was cultivating, while two cat demons were playing. Seeing Guin appear, they quickly stopped and lay on the ground. Although they hadn't shapeshifted yet, they were highly intelligent and, under Tian Yaoer's guidance, they were very respectful towards Guin. Guin nodded at them, then sat at the stone table and began contemplating the matters of a grotto heaven. With his current cultivation level, opening up an independent minor heaven and earth wasn't difficult, but the challenge was in raising the spiritual energy. He couldn't instantly create a minor heaven and earth filled with spiritual energy. Next, he planned to collect high-grade celestial treasures to prepare for his grotto heaven. He was now thinking about where to hide the grotto heaven. Although the minor heaven and earth within the grotto heaven was hidden in another space, the entrance to the real world was fixed and couldn't move. After much thought, Guin decided to open the grotto heaven on the mainland. This mainland was vast and had fewer immortal realms, making it suitable for him to develop slowly. At this time, Tian Yaoer approached and asked what he was thinking. Guin didn't hide anything, as the grotto heaven would eventually need to be managed by her. To seize lifespan, he needed to personally harvest it with his mana, as puppets or clones weren't reliable. The clones of his 9 extremes yin-yang body, though called clones, were actually formed by his mana and lacked independent thought. Guin had no interest in clones. He preferred to directly experience life and growth. Tian Yaoer, upon hearing this, was secretly shocked. The master had already opened a minor heaven and earth? She wondered if Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother could do the same? Having cultivated for so long, she wasn't naive. She was increasingly certain that the master was stronger than the Demon Mother. It was just that he claimed he couldn't defeat the Demon Mother to encourage her to cultivate. She felt no resentment towards this. Her enemies needed to be dealt with by her own hands. Just set it here at Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. It said that Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was once a habitat for phoenixes. Every few thousand years, enormous spiritual energy surges from the ground, producing countless celestial treasures. Tian Yaoer said earnestly. Guin thought it made sense. Then he sent his divine sense underground to open up a minor heaven and earth. The grotto heaven couldn't be too close to Nianchu Cave to avoid affecting the growth of medicinal herbs here. It should ideally be near the great earth spirit lineage, so it could absorb the underground spiritual energy. An hour later, Guin successfully opened it. Unlike other great cultivators who needed to fill it with soil and water, he could directly manifest it with his mana, thanks to his 5 elements attribute. However, the plants would still need to be relocated manually. For now, he wasn't in a hurry. He would let the grotto heaven absorb spiritual energy first. With the arrival of the new year, the Supreme Sect was busy with celebrations and all cities were bustling. Guin rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the Outer Gate City. Although they attracted many gazes along the way, no one was surprised. Nowadays, many disciples in the Outer Gate City rode mounts, and numerous majestic demon birds circled above the city. The Blood Prison Great Saint was also very interested in the Outer Gate City, constantly looking around. "Brother Gu, long time no see." A light laugh sounded, and Guin turned his head to see Di Xie approaching. Di Xie had gotten acquainted with Suolin and Guin when he first arrived. He had always hidden his true identity, and now only the high levels of the Supreme Sect knew that he was the son of the Demon Emperor. Guin dismounted with a smile, raised his hand, and cupped his fists. Xia looked at the blood prison great saint, examining it, and said, "Brother Gu, this mount of yours seems to have a unique bloodline?" Although the blood prison great saint's cultivation level was low, Xia could still sense some unusual traits, but nothing more. Guan laughed. "He's quite good. I like him a lot, so I take him everywhere with me, but his speed is a bit slow." Xia smiled and nodded, then invited Guan for a drink, which Guan didn't refuse. He led the blood prison great saint and followed Xia. They chatted and laughed along the way, their relationship harmonious. After experiencing the demon catastrophe, Xia cherished his friendship with Suolin and Guan even more. The human and demon races shouldn't be forever locked in conflict. They could coexist peacefully, just like him and Guan. The two found an inn. Guan left the blood prison great saint by the inn's door and asked the innkeeper to keep an eye on him. The two went to the second floor by the window. The first sword competition in the world is about to start. I'm planning to participate. You must come to watch then. Xia said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Guan immediately agreed and wished him success in advance. "I've heard they're preparing to recruit some demon clan disciples. Brother Gu, what do you think about this?" Xia asked curiously. He was pleased but also worried when he heard this. He knew well the nature of some demons. If they harmed someone in the supreme sect, would that not worsen the conflict? After all, the demon catastrophe had only ended recently, and there was still significant resentment towards demons among the human cultivators. It's a good thing. Didn't some demons help us fight off the evil demons during the catastrophe? Now that the demon ancestor has fallen, but evil demons remain, which are a greater calamity. The human and demon races should unite to overcome the tribulation. Guan said casually. Xia observed his expression, trying to figure out his true thoughts, but his words made Xia happy. They started drinking, passing cups back and forth, and soon, 2 jars were emptied. An hour later, sounds of a cow and the innkeeper's voice interrupted Guan and Xia's conversation. "I need to go down and check," Guan said, standing up. Xia nodded and followed him downstairs. In front of the inn's door, more and more disciples gathered. The innkeeper stood in front of the blood prison great saint, wearing a forced smile as he looked at the luxurious robed man in front of him, saying, "Sir, I really can't sell this cow. If you want to buy it, you should find the owner upstairs." The man in luxurious robes was arrogant, with 4 attendants behind him, all looking formidable. He looked down at the innkeeper and said, "Go call him down." Before the innkeeper could respond, Guan's voice came from behind, "Brother, sorry, but this cow is not for sale." Guan approached the blood prison great saint, patting its head, and gave the luxurious robed man a lifespan detection. This was his habitual action to see the other person's maximum lifespan. Zhou Yi, Divinity Transformation Stage 5th Level 402/880/1200, surname Zhou? Guan thought to himself. After the Ji family left the Supreme Sect, the Zhou family also started leaving, reportedly to support the Zhangqian sect. Zhou Yi looked at Guan and said, "2 top-grade spirit stones, I'll take it." As soon as he said this, the surrounding disciples were in an uproar. A first-order demon beast worth that much? Listening to the discussions around, the blood prison great saint was infuriated, his eyes flaring up with rage. He accepted being Guan's steed, but who did this kid think he was? The blood prison great saint judged from the other's aura that he was just a low-level divinity transformation cultivator. Guan frowned, shaking his head in difficulty. Xia suddenly stepped in front of him and said, "My brother said it's not for sale, stop pestering." Zhou Yi looked him up and down and sneered, "Do you know what my cultivation level is?" "What? Being in the divinity transformation stage 5th level makes you arrogant?" Xia retorted coldly. The crowd was in an uproar again, and the innkeeper stepped back in fear, with Guan also pretending to be shocked. Zhou Yi asked, frowning, "Who are you?" Xia said calmly, "I am Xia, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer." Bang! The whole street exploded into chaos. Zhou Yi and the 4 behind him all retreated together. Xia glanced at Guan, giving an apologetic look. The Blood Prison Great Saint, at the Mahayana realm 8th layer, felt humiliated. Was the mystic heart realm that prestigious? After he ascended, he shouldn't have been so arrogant. Guwen, at the heaven and earth flying immortal realm 9th level, feigned tension, continuously stroking the cow's head. Chapter 201. Demon shocks the world under the might of Xie. Zhou Yi ultimately withdrew with his men. Before leaving, Zhou Yi still harbored hostility towards Guwen. However, it did not reach the level of hatred, only dissatisfaction, and a desire to teach him a lesson. Afterward, Xie laid his cards on the table with Guwen, revealing his true identity, and left with a look of shock on Guwen's face. He turned his back to Guwen, sighed slightly under the gaze of many disciples on both sides of the street. From now on, it would be challenging for him to befriend Guwen, as the difference in status and cultivation level was clear. Even if he had the inclination to form a bond, Brother Gu would probably feel pressured, wouldn't he? Xie smiled self-deprecatingly. Guwen continued to ride the Blood Prison Great Saint around the street. After nearly 2 ancient hours, they finally left the city. On the way to the Third Medicine Valley, Guwen introduced the Supreme Sect and those noble families to the Blood Prison Great Saint. The Blood Prison Great Saint listened intently, for Guwen had said that he would let him go after 1,000 years. Once free, he would still need to understand this great heaven and earth, so it was best to accumulate knowledge now. "Do you know why I captured you?" Guwen asked nonchalantly. The Blood Prison Great Saint was no fool and thought it must be related to those 2 half-human, half-demon individuals. "You might think this world is nothing special, but it is far more dangerous than you imagine. This is also why I hide my cultivation level. Serving me for 1,000 years, first to atone for your sins, and second to temper your character. I hope you cherish it." Guwen spoke softly. If the Blood Prison Great Saint performed well, he wouldn't mind teaching him the primordial reincarnation skill. The primordial reincarnation skill and the path of returning primordial spirit were, in a sense, a perfect match. It was just right to use the Blood Prison Great Saint to experiment and see if it was effective. "Moo," the Blood Prison Great Saint responded. Although he could not speak human words, Guwen understood his submissive intention. In fact, the mindset of the Blood Prison Great Saint had already changed. He had thought before that following Guwen might be an opportunity. At least Guwen could be his protector. If it hadn't been Guwen who took action against him back then, but another immortal cultivator of similar cultivation level, he might have already died and vanished. Putting himself in someone else's shoes, if someone attacked his disciple or junior, he wouldn't show mercy either. Within the circle of great cultivators in the spirit realm, there was a saying: "It is better to provoke the Blood Prison Great Saint himself than to suppress his juniors." The Blood Prison Great Saint's pace wasn't fast, and Guwen didn't rush him. During the ride, it seemed as if he was talking to himself, while the Blood Prison Great Saint didn't feel annoyed. For some reason, he always felt that Guwen had changed recently. Even a casual remark from him felt inexplicably calming to the Blood Prison Great Saint. He didn't believe it was an illusion. It must be related to Guwen's cultivation level. Perhaps he could learn something by following Guwen. After the bustling and busy spring festival, Guwen continued his simple life. During this period, no one from the Zhou family caused trouble for Guwen, perhaps fearing Xie or knowing about his relationship with LV Beiyin. In any case, Guwen didn't mind. Nowadays, he wouldn't regard the Zhou family as a threat. If Zhou Yi harbored any intent to kill him, he would resolve it immediately. In the days that followed, he would go to the inner sect city once a month to sell his medicinal herbs and accumulate spirit stones. He had already spotted a more prosperous cultivation city overseas, planning to go there in the future to purchase a large number of high-rank medical herbs and plant them in his grotto heaven. The days were busy yet purposeful and not at all dull for him. In the blink of an eye, over half a year had passed, and Guwen turned 97 years old. The demonic qi in the north grew thicker, and in a few more years, the so-called evil demon might break the seal. The first Sword Dao tournament in the world was in full swing, and Guwen was also watching the excitement. In the distant demon land, In the underground space where and how parted ways with Xian Tianyi, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the magma with a frown. He saw several skeletons floating and sinking. Behind him stood a group of 7 stars spirit realm cultivators. Below should be the sealed place of the evil demon, right? The demonic chi here is truly terrifying. We must have the seniors of our realm come to handle it. A message has already been sent. We shall hold our ground here first to prevent other cultivators from entering and ruining the plan. You never know when the evil demon will break the seal. If it suddenly happens, we won't be able to hold out. Ji Xianling ignored their chatter, his gaze lingering on the distant cave wall. He saw numerous shocking cracks, indicating a great battle had occurred there before. One of the cracks made him frown. Could it be him? Ji Xianling thought of Xian Tianyi. He had fought with Xian Tianyi countless times and was well aware of his combat methods. The thought of Xian Tianyi possibly dying here made him inexplicably uneasy. Wait, the seal hasn't been broken yet, so why would someone be fighting here? Could someone have tried to stop Xian Tianyi? Who could have arrived here before the 7 stars spirit realm? Ji Xianling furrowed his brows deeply, a terrifying suspicion arising in his mind, making his face turn even grimmer. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the Supreme Sect's main city, and Hao stared intently at LV Baidian sitting at the head seat, while LV Baidian frowned deeply. Master, what should we do? And Hao asked in a deep voice, with a sense of foreboding in his heart. LV Baidian did not display the fury and Hao expected but remained silent instead. Senior Xian is the only Mahayana realm cultivator we have in the Supreme Sect. We cannot abandon him. And Hao said through gritted teeth. LV Baidian looked at him and said, You said it yourself, the only one. If even he couldn't withstand it, what can we do? Unless the sword Venerable Fudao intervenes, but we don't even know where he is. We can't ask the entire sect to beg him for one person, right? And Hao's expression changed several times. Because when he failed to summon his master that night, he thought his master didn't want to get involved. Afterward, he stopped calling for help and rushed back to the Supreme Sect. His master was unwilling to intervene, and the Supreme Sect didn't want to. What should he do? What bothered and Hao the most was that he couldn't blame anyone. If he had the strength, he wouldn't need to beg. The Supreme Sect had countless disciples. It was impossible to sacrifice them all for one person. His master didn't owe him or the Supreme Sect anything. Why should he keep cleaning up after him? Suddenly, and Hao thought of something. He turned around and removed his robe, exposing his back, saying, This is left by Senior Xian, seems to be some kind of restriction. My divine sense couldn't decipher it. LV Baidian looked up, eyes widening abruptly, and appeared behind Hao in a flash. He gripped Hao's shoulders tightly, preventing him from moving. So, that's it. Hearing LV Baidian's words, Hao, though confused, didn't interrupt his master's examination of the restriction on his back. Mid-autumn, the first Sword Dao tournament in the world concluded, and the champion was a Sword Dao great cultivator from the Gu family. Di Xie ranked second. Gu and also watched the final battle between Di Xie and the Gu family great cultivator. If Di Xie hadn't insisted on using a sword, he might not have lost. Though Di Xie was at the Mystic Heart realm, his swordsmanship was exceedingly immature. The first Sword Dao tournament in the world attracted the entire immortal cultivation world's attention, bringing immense profit to the Supreme Sect. Other sects began to emulate the Supreme Sect, hosting various tournaments. However, at this stage, cultivators were more interested in the spectacular combat demonstrated in the first Sword Dao tournament in the world. After the tournament, Hao sought out an XN. The siblings hadn't seen each other for a long time and were very happy, talking for a long while. Guan noticed that Hao seemed to have something on his mind, but his relationship with Hao wasn't close enough to inquire. Before leaving, Hao found Guan, thanked him for taking care of an XN, and gifted him many high-rank medical herb seeds. After some polite refusal, Guan reluctantly accepted them. The two didn't talk for long before Hao took his leave. Guan watched Hao's departing figure, guessing it was related to his experience in the demon land. Disciple, fear not. Once he emerges, he's dead. Guan thought silently and suddenly recalled Xian Tianyi. And Hao had previously spent time with Xian Tianyi. Why had only and Hao returned? He immediately used his divine sense to scan the entire continent but couldn't find Xian Tianyi. Had Xian Tianyi sailed away? But he hadn't seen him depart. Gu Yan's gaze fixed on that demonic qi-laden area where numerous 7-stars spirit realm cultivators had gathered, including Ji Xianling, who had previously visited the Supreme Sect. Aside from the deep underground and a few obscure hidden realms, the only remaining place he hadn't explored was the sealed area of the evil demon. Could it be that Xian Tianyi was captured by the 7-star spirit realm or had fallen into the sealed area of the evil demon? 2 months later, the north erupted with terrifying demonic qi, as dreadful as the demonic might of the demon ancestor, alarming the 3 dynasties. Standing up in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan turned to look. Not far away, the blood prison great saint also gazed northward, secretly alarmed. What terrifying demonic qi! This great heaven and earth truly hid dragons and tigers. Who might be behind this demonic qi? Guan only took one glance before continuing to pick medicinal herbs. The blood prison great saint glanced at Guan, seeing his calm demeanor, and felt relieved. Come to think of it, he wasn't clear about Gu An's true cultivation level. Disciples in the valley were also disturbed by the distant demonic might. They gathered in groups, discussing the matter. They immediately associated it with the evil demon. Since the Holy Land's emergence and the spread of the legend of the evil demon, it had become a significant concern among people. After the eruption, the demonic might persisted, not dispersing, though it didn't affect the disciples' lives. It made them feel oppressed and uneasy. Early the next morning, many cultivators flew over the 3rd Medicine Valley, heading north. Gu An's divine sense observed the 3 dynasties, noting that various sects were sending many cultivators toward the demon land. He wasn't worried. Judging from the current aura, the evil demon was at the level of a loose immortal and had not completely broken free from the seal. He wanted to see if the 7-star spirit realm would truly assist the 3 dynasties' human race in resisting the evil demon. Meanwhile, in a forest, Zhang Buku followed Li Ye, unable to restrain himself from asking, "Brother Li, with such demonic qi, it must be the legendary evil demon. We should stay away and let the great cultivators handle it." Chapter 202. The elder uncle is called Guan. Do you know him? The world is in distress. How can we cultivators sit idly by? This has nothing to do with cultivation level. It's about spirit. Li Ye said without turning his head, his tone resolute and powerful, causing Zhang Buku to feel somewhat ashamed. In terms of awareness, he was indeed not as good as Brother Li. Of course, if we get an opportunity, that's even better. Let's try it. The more people there are, the easier it is to blend in, at least we won't be easy targets. Li Ye shifted his tone and continued. Zhang Buku twitched his mouth but did not refute. He twisted his arm and said, "Brother Li, it seems my old injury is acting up." "Hold it in. Is your injury more serious than mine? As men, even if we die, it's just a scar as big as a bowl. What are you afraid of? If you're scared, you'll lose for a lifetime." Li Ye snorted, his gaze penetrating the gaps in the leaves, looking at the rolling demonic clouds in the sky, his thoughts drifting. Zhang Buku pouted, secretly thinking that he was just good at talking big. Having been together for so long, it's true that he couldn't bear to abandon Li Ye. Forget it, this brother for a lifetime, I'll follow him through the mountains of swords and seas of flames. Zhang Buku consoled himself in his heart. He followed up and asked, "Brother Li, where do you think the blood prison great saint we encountered before is now? He's an ascended being. Is he looking for a sect to establish himself?" Li Ye casually answered, "Naturally, one person can't establish themselves in the immortal cultivation world. The Mahayana realm sounds strong, but it's not invincible. But with his ability, he is probably being revered by some sect now, living much better than the 2 of us brothers." "Indeed." Zhang Buku clicked his tongue in amazement. Without a sect as a backing, He deeply understood how difficult it was for a person to wander the immortal cultivation world alone. The two chatted while advancing. The demonic clouds in the sky continued to spread, seemingly marching towards the entire mortal world like a calamity. Guan rode on the back of the blood prison great saint, heading towards the pavilion area. His divine sense already locked onto the depths of the demon land. Amid a desolate land, the ground cracked open, spreading like a spider web. Majestic demonic chi erupted from the earth's crevices, soaring to the sky, an awe-inspiring sight. It was as if a peerless evil demon was about to break out from the ground, creating a suffocating atmosphere between heaven and earth. Guan observed cultivators constructing a transmission array platform on a cliff about 50,000 miles from the place where the evil demon was breaking its seal. They probably belonged to the seven-star spirit realm, as Ji Xianling was among them. At this moment, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of the cliff, his brows furrowed. A woman in white walked up to him, smilingly asked, "What's the matter? Are you afraid?" Ji Xianling glanced at her indifferently. No matter how strong the evil demon is, can it be stronger than Sword Venerable Fudao? I've been to the Supreme Sect. It's different. These two haven't fought. Besides, you represented the seven-star spirit realm going to the Supreme Sect. Why would Sword Venerable Fudao attack you? The woman in white shook her head. Ji Xianling continued to look ahead, ignoring the woman in white. The woman in white added, "Elder Lin is here too. He is a loose immortal. With his intervention, we should get through this tribulation." Elder Lin? Ji Zunling's brows furrowed again, his doubts growing stronger. The terrible conjecture seemed to be about to be confirmed. He always believed that the seven-star spirit realm was the true Holy Land and took pride in being born in the seven-star spirit realm. But recently, more and more things made him feel that the seven-star spirit realm harbored many unspeakable secrets, secrets that might shatter its holy name, driving him to the brink. What tortured him the most was that he guessed the truth but didn't dare to reveal it, and still had to follow orders. Rumble. The demonic clouds in the sky began to emit thunderous sounds, like ancient demon gods roaring, causing unrest among all beings. Guan watched for a long time. When the blood prison great saint returned to the pavilion, he dismounted. Although cultivators from all over the world were heading north, and even the demon clan was mobilizing troops towards the evil demon's seal, he was not in a hurry. Better wait for the evil demon to revive before taking action. He suspected that the seven-star spirit realm wanted to eliminate the evil demon themselves to make a name for themselves, but he felt that the rising speed of the demonic chi might disrupt their plan. Unless the seven-star spirit realm dispatched a wandering immortal. Just right to use the evil demon to test the strength of the seven-star spirit realm on the continent. In the days following, news of the imminent revival of the evil demon spread wildly within the Supreme Sect, even reaching the disciples in Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. Guan could feel that the evil demon was about to break its seal ahead of time for some unknown reason. He didn't bother to speculate on the reason, as long as the evil demon didn't grow strong enough to exceed his control. Judging by the current pace of its chi rising, it would take another 100 years to pose a threat to Guan. The difference between heaven and earth flying immortal and wandering immortal was like the gap between mortals and immortals. Not to mention that the evil demon had not yet reached the wandering immortal realm. The seven stars spirit realm side hadn't made a move yet, they were also waiting. Guan thought they would act only when the three Chao cultivators gathered, which would be their chance to make a name. In the blink of an eye. A month quickly passed, and a large number of three Chao cultivators had gathered where the seven stars spirit realm cultivators were stationed. The evil demon's chi had almost reached the wandering immortal realm, sending a chill down all cultivators' spines. Let alone scouting for information, they didn't even dare to send their divine senses into demon land. On the wasteland, the Supreme Sect cultivators gathered to build houses, with formations set up around the perimeter. LV Baitin stood on a terrace, his gaze fixed on the distant cliff, where the seven stars spirit realm was stationed, isolated as a holy land, not mingling with the three Chao sections. All the sects gathered on the wasteland under the cliff, but the Seven Stars spirit realm remained aloof. Ji Hantian approached LV Baitin, whispered, "There's still no sign of Xian Tianyi. Could he really have perished in Demon Land?" His brows furrowed. Xian Tianyi was a rare talent in the Supreme Sect in thousands of years and their strongest person on the surface. Losing Xian Tianyi would mean half of the Supreme Sect's foundation crumbling. Regardless, we must prepare for the possibility that he can't fight. LV Baitin said solemnly. Ji Hantian looked at LV Baitin, deep in thought. After a long while, he finally asked, "Sect leader, are you hiding something from me? If Xian Tianyi is really dead, how can you be so unperturbed? You are too calm." LV Baitin shook his head and turned to go downstairs. In the distance, Liya led Zhang Buku into the Supreme Sect's encampment. Zhang Buku looked around, full of curiosity. "I heard the Supreme Sect started recruiting Demon Clan disciples. You should join later, I'll recommend you." Liya softly laughed. Zhang Buku asked, "Really?" He was visibly excited. Liya glanced at him, curiously asking, "Why so excited? When I introduced you to the cultivators of the Zhangtian sect, you weren't this thrilled." Zhang Buku took a deep breath. "Truth be told, my father was an outer sect servant disciple of the Supreme Sect. Since childhood, I've heard tales of the Supreme Sect from him. Naturally, I yearn for it." Due to Zhang Buku's tragic background, Liya never asked much, afraid of saddening him. Today, hearing this, he couldn't help but ask, "What's your father's name? By the way, I also started as an outer sect servant disciple. Maybe I knew your father." Zhang Buku turned his head. "My father's name was Zhang Chuanxiu." "What?" Liya stopped in his tracks, staring at Zhang Buku in stunned surprise. Surprised, Zhang Buku asked, "Brother Li, you knew him?" First shocked, Liya then remembered that Zhang Buku's father had passed away. His mood dropped. "Was your father a servant disciple in Medicine Valley?" "When I joined the valley, he was my senior brother," Liya said with mixed emotions. Zhang Buku was excited again. "Really? I didn't expect we had such a connection." "Right, you mentioned a martial uncle earlier. What's his name? Why didn't your father mention me?" Liya asked. Just as he finished, his mind suddenly jolted. "Wait, isn't this messing up the seniority?" Zhang Buku replied, "Martial uncle's name is Guan. Do you know him?" "Junior brother Gu," Liya immediately realized. Indeed, back in Medicine Valley, senior brother Zhang Chunkia's favorite was junior brother Gu. Junior brother Gu was kind to everyone, universally liked. It's natural that senior brother Zhang Chuanxiu remembered him. Zhang Buku also realized, scratching his head, "Should I call you Martial Uncle Li?" "Forget it, brotherly flows better. Well, each stick to our own." Seeing his shameless expression, Liya felt somewhat vexed. They'd been calling each other brothers for years. It was hard to change now. After all, Zhang Buku only saw him. Their previous relationship might as well not count. Zhang Buku nervously asked, "Brother Li, how's your relationship with Martial Uncle Gu?" Hearing this, Liya suddenly wanted to alter the relationship. He looked up, proudly smiled. "Of course, we're the best of brothers." "Really?" Zhang Buku was overjoyed. Liya asked skeptically, "Why are you so curious about him? Have you seen him?" "Of course, when I was young and my father hadn't yet passed, Martial Uncle Gu came to my house. He even brought me a top-grade spirit elixir. He's my only elder in this world." Zhang Buku said seriously. "Only elder?" Liya's mouth twitched. "In that case, you'd better call me Martial Uncle." "No way, we'll each stick to our own. If junior brother Gu hears this, I'll be a joke." "What? Last year when the Demon King nearly tore you apart, I risked my life to save you. Didn't you say we're brothers for life? Now you're denying it?" Zhang Buku glared. They had already sworn brotherhood. How could he recognize his brother as a martial uncle? Liya opened his mouth, feeling somewhat stifled. Zhang Buku looked around, muttering, "I wonder if Martial Uncle Gu is here." Liya sneered. "He's just a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator. Besides, he's timid. How could he be here?" Foundation Establishment Realm? Zhang Buku was taken aback. He had seen Martial Uncle Gu slay demons. To be honest, he felt martial Uncle Gu was stronger than Li Ya. But he had promised martial Uncle Gu not to reveal his acts of heroism, so he held back. Seeing Li Ya's expression, he clearly didn't know martial Uncle Gu's true cultivation level. Such a proud person, if he knew the truth, had definitely hassle martial Uncle Gu? Zhang Buku thought secretly, feeling rather delighted. Knowing martial Uncle Gu's secret, did it mean martial Uncle Gu saw him as closer? Chapter 203. The Evil Demon Breaks the Seal. It's him. Zhang Buku could not find Guan within the Supreme Sect's camp, as Guan was still busy planting seeds. He had come to the grotto heaven he had cultivated beforehand, scattering ordinary herb seeds to improve the soil. Once the matter with the evil demon was resolved, he planned to go overseas to buy a large number of high-rank medicinal herb seeds. Decades had passed, and Guan had accumulated a vast fortune, enough for him to spend lavishly. The demonic power from the north persisted, affecting all life. Wherever Guan went, he heard people worrying about it. Simultaneously, Guan overheard another discourse. Some were constantly advocating for the Holy Land, claiming that this calamity would not spread to the human realm with the Holy Land's intervention. Using his divine sense to cover the land of 3 dynasties, Guan saw many people specifically spreading this news. From the karma around them, he deduced they were entrusted by 7 Stars spirit realm cultivators. Indeed, the Holy Land's means were far beyond the Supreme Sect's. After witnessing how difficult it was to control the sword Venerable Fudao, the 7 Stars spirit realm acted swiftly. Moreover, Guan noticed batches of cultivators landing from the sea, some among them even Nirvana realm great cultivators. They infiltrated the 3 dynasties to gather information. Some were investigating the sword Venerable Fudao, others the 7 Stars spirit realm. Guan did not pay too much attention, as long as they didn't appear before him. Time continued to pass. About half a month later, as autumn drew to a close, Guan was riding the Blood Prison Great Saint, wandering around the 3rd Medicine Valley when his divine sense turned northward. The 7 Stars spirit realm had begun to take action. Guan saw among them appearing a loose immortal, whose aura was no weaker than startling immortal Lin's, even without releasing his pressure. In the depths of the Demon Land, at the edge of the Demon Land. All disciples, prepare for battle. A bold voice resounded throughout the Supreme Sect's encampment, prompting all disciples to begin mobilizing. Not only the Supreme Sect but other sects were the same. The 7 Stars spirit realm dispatched disciples to various sects, instructing on battle tactics. Even powerful sects like the Tsangtian sect did not dare refuse, only complying, as the 7 Stars spirit realm had great cultivators at the realm of immortal path. When the 7 Stars spirit realm's cultivators flew toward the depths of the Demon Land like arrow showers, dozens of sects spread out, ready to encircle the Demon Land from different directions. And Hao, Li Ya, and Zhang Buku were among them. The Supreme Sect's mystic heart realm had only one representative, Ancestor Xianquan. Other sects were the same, with even the strongest Tsangtian sect only sending a Taoist lord, not even bringing any mystic heart realm great cultivators. They all knew the battle's key lay with the Holy Land. And Hao gazed at the backs of the 7 Stars spirit realm cultivators, frowning deeply in thought. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators followed LV Bayin in flight, everyone tense. Even with the Holy Land at the forefront, they still felt anxious, as the Holy Land had stated that the evil demon could not be completely eradicated by them. In the 7 Stars spirit realm faction, Ji Zunling's eyes held complex emotions as he looked at the elder at the very front. That elder was the Lin family's loose immortal, named Ancestor Lin Lu, holding a high position within the 6 Stars cave. Not only was his cultivation profound, but he himself had lived for nearly 10,000 years. Ancestor Lin Lu wore a large purple robe, his white hair bound beneath a coronet, and his weathered face exuded vitality with bright eyes, making him appear imposing. Suddenly his eyes squinted, and in the direction he gazed upon, the barren earth ahead was riddled with fissures, black demonic chi seeping out, as if something extremely evil was breeding. Thunderclouds churned above, lightning flashing, casting a heavy atmosphere over everything. Ancestor Lin Lu raised his right hand, a golden umbrella appearing in his palm. He lifted it, and the golden umbrella flew over his head, swiftly shooting forward. In the blink of an eye, the golden umbrella flew to the most densely concentrated area of demonic qi, hovering 10,000 feet above the ground, near the thunderclouds. Boom! The golden umbrella suddenly opened, spreading golden rays of light, as if an immense power from another dimension shook the very sea of time, dispersing clouds and lightning, transforming the gloomy sky into something majestic and ethereal. Golden light poured down from the umbrella like a torrential rain, landing on the cracked ground, forming inscriptions that expanded rapidly, covering a 1,000-mile radius within 2 breaths and continuing to spread. The golden inscriptions suppressed the demonic qi emerging from the ground fissures. When the inscriptions stopped extending, their edges emitted golden light, shooting into the clouds and forming golden pillars, isolating 10,000 miles around, with the 3 dynasties sects positioned outside the golden barrier. What kind of magic artifact is that? It can form a formation by itself? Indeed powerful, this formation feels stronger than our sect-protecting array. No wonder it's the Holy Land, truly formidable. It seems the Holy Land plans to handle the evil demon alone. We just need to assist. That's good. Who wants to die? Discussions buzzed among the sect disciples, their reverence for the Holy Land rising rapidly. Ji Xianling looked up at the golden umbrella in the sky, uttering 4 words, "Loose immortal Dharma treasure." Ancestor Lin Lu accelerated alone, quickly arriving above a massive black hole. Looking down, he saw it was bottomless, with all the ground fissures extending from this pit. The demonic qi inside pushed against the golden manna, threatening to break through at any moment. 7 stars spirit realm, hehe. A chilling voice echoed through the world, heard clearly by all cultivators outside the formation. On the Supreme Sect's side, numerous great cultivators' faces changed dramatically, including LV Beiyin, Jihan Tian, and Ancestor Xian Quan. And Hao's eyes widened, his expression incredulous. Senior Xian. Impossible? The voice was precisely that of Xian Tianyi. And Hao subconsciously looked toward LV Beiyin. Ever since LV Beiyin discovered the restriction on his back, he had strictly forbidden him from revealing it. LV Beiyin had also promised to handle the matter and never wrong Xian Tianyi. At this moment, LV Beiyan's face was dark. Ignoring In Hao's gaze, he stared intently at the depths of the demon land. Evil demon, after 10,000 years, you still haven't repented? Ancestor Lin Lu's voice rang out, calm yet pressing. Evil demon. All cultivators tensed, with those from various sects who had met Xian Tianyi furrowing their brows, frequently looking toward the Supreme Sect. Just then, the earth trembled violently. Ancestor Lin Lu remained unfazed. He raised his right hand, strengthening the formation. The demonic qi in the ground fissures grew more potent and frenzied, trying to shatter the golden inscriptions on the surface, as if countless vengeful demons were about to burst from the abyss. Mournful wails echoed throughout the world, sounding like both dragon and phoenix songs, and evil ghosts' howls, making everyone's hair stand on end. Boom! A terrifying force suddenly broke through the surface, shattering the golden inscriptions. Rolling demonic qi surged to the sky, merging with the thunderclouds and sending the golden umbrella flying. Ancestor Lin Lu was caught off guard, forced back by the overwhelming pressure. Stabilizing himself, he frowned, raised his hand, and cast a spell to steady the golden umbrella in the sky, then pulled out a long redwood sword. Hundreds of 7 stars spirit realm cultivators spread out, surrounding the terrifying pillar of demonic qi, each taking out their magic artifacts. Ji Xianling wielded a large fan, with golden flames leaping from its 7 apertures. His gaze noticed a figure rising within the demonic qi pillar, causing his pupils to dilate suddenly. So it's all true. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan dismounted from the blood prison Great Saint's back. Instead of returning to his quarters, he turned and looked north. His brows furrowed, his eyes filled with coldness. His expression quickly changed. He retracted his gaze and prepared to go upstairs. At that moment, a figure flew in from afar. He stopped, turned, and saw Ji Xiaoyu swiftly approaching like a fairy descending from the sky before him. Guan saluted her, smilingly asking, "Third Miss, what brings you here?" Ji Xiaoyu raised her hand, revealing a jade pendant. "Leave this with you. Don't mention it to anyone. I will come back for it later." She tossed it to Guan and then turned to leave as quickly as she came. Guan's divine sense scanned it as he nonchalantly put the jade pendant into his storage bag before turning to go upstairs. The jade pendant contained intelligence about the 7 stars spirit realm. Why did Ji Xiaoyu give it to him? Could she have guessed something? Meanwhile, in the demon land, a figure stepped out from the roiling demonic qi. His appearance made Ji Zunling's face turn extremely grim, causing a stir among the supreme sect and disbelief in other sections. The figure emerging from the demonic qi was none other than Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi wore a black robe, his white hair fluttering wildly. His handsome face was pale, with deep red eye sockets, and his pupils seemed to swirl with demonic qi, appearing particularly sinister. He twisted his neck, raised his arms, and stretched his body. "Senior Xian." And Hao's voice echoed from afar as he tried to rush into the formation but was stopped. On the Tsungtan sect's side, Taoist Lord frowned, calculating with his fingers. Sect Master Liang Tsunghai also frowned deeply, filled with confusion. How could this be? The Taoist of immortality from 3 Pure Ones Mountain couldn't help but look at Ancestor Lin Lu, his eyes full of meaning. Discussions buzzed among the sects, and soon, Xian Tianyi's identity spread. A supreme sect Mahayana realm cultivator had turned into an evil demon? This revelation shocked everyone. Once, during the demonic invasion, Xian Tianyi had achieved great feats, earning the respect of cultivators worldwide. Ancestor Lin Lu stared at the evil demon, speaking coldly, "Evil demon, you dare possess a human Mahayana realm cultivator? You seek death." His voice rumbled like thunder, echoing through the heavens, heard by all. Xian Tianyi turned to him, eyes icy, and sneered, "Noisy." As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his sleeve at Ancestor Lin Lu, releasing the terrifying power of a 9th-layer loose immortal, obliterating the golden inscriptions on the ground. Ancestor Lin Lu's spellcasting tried to block it, but he was still forced back. Thousands of miles away, the golden light from the formation was shattered, sending tens of thousands of sect disciples flying, with countless casualties. "You." Ancestor Lin Lu glared at Xian Tianyi, his tone filled with shock and anger. What was happening? Their cultivation? Before he could think further, Xian Tianyi raised his hand, palm facing the sky, with a wild smile on his face. He grabbed with his right hand and yanked downward. The thunderclouds in the sky collapsed instantly, the terrifying pressure causing all cultivators outside the formation to plummet to the ground, and the earth trembled. Chapter 204 Above Loose Immortal. Xian Tianyi merely grabbed out with his hand, but it gave all the cultivators a sense of the sky falling, with the heavens shaking and the earth roaring, reverberating in everyone's ears. The cultivators of the 7-star spirit realm also fought desperately to resist. Although their cultivation was high, it was only impressive compared to the cultivators outside the formation. Before Xian Tianyi, they were insignificant. Rumble, the earth continuously shattered, overwhelming demonic energy surged forth like a volcanic eruption, and countless lightning bolts intertwined like dragons and snakes, converging in the palm of Xian Tianyi's right hand. At this moment, Xian Tianyi's momentum reached its peak, white hair wildly fluttered, a madman expression, as if a demonic god had descended upon the world. Ancestor Lin Lu steadied himself and quickly cast spells with both hands, pushing forward with a palm strike, the mana like a dragon emerging from the abyss, carrying the spiritual energy of the heavens and earth, fire and wind intertwined, sweeping across the shattered earth, heading straight for Xian Tianyi. In the face of this mana, everything in the world seemed insignificant. Xian Tianyi raised his hand. Facing the vast tide of wind and fire, he blocked it with one palm, causing the raging wind and fire to split apart, forming countless fire dragons scattering in all directions. Form the array, exterminate the demon. Ancestor Lin Lu roared angrily, and the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators leaped away, distancing themselves from Xian Tianyi. Suddenly, the rolling dust behind Ancestor Lin Lu was scattered, and Xian Tianyi stepped behind him, standing sideways. Xian Tianyi's eyes were filled with killing intent. With one palm strike, his hand ignited with demonic flames, penetrating Ancestor Lin Lu's chest, splattering blood. Ancestor Lin Lu's eyes widened with a look of shock and anger. Xian Tianyi lifted his arm, following up with a dive, slamming Ancestor Lin Lu, who was impaled on his arm, into the shattered ground. He then began to wildly swing him around, causing the 7-star spirit realm cultivators to panic, and the great cultivators from distant sects were horrified. The evil demon, though not as exaggerated in size as the demon ancestors or great demon kings, exuded an even more intimidating presence. Ancestor Lin Lu transformed into a blood mist. In an instant, his body reappeared dozens of miles away, covered in blood, with his robe tattered, no longer composed as before. Xian Tianyi stepped out from the blood mist. As he looked up, countless sword shadows emitting silver light descended from the sky, engulfing him in an instant, causing dust to rise like a dragon swallowing the sky. Boom! Boom! Countless sword shadows bombarded the ground, causing the entire earth to tremble violently. The ones casting the spells were dozens of 7-star spirit realm sword cultivators. They floated high in the sky, each with their treasure sword inverted in front of them, the blades vibrating with a clear and piercing sound. Watching the formidable sword array of the 7-star spirit realm, the cultivators of various sects were elated. They retreated one after another, distancing themselves from the battlefield. The difference in cultivation levels was too great. Even flying was difficult, so they had to expand the encirclement. LV Baitin grabbed and Hao and quickly retreated. "Master, is there no hope?" And Hao looked at LV Baitin, gritting his teeth. Hearing that Xian Tianyi had been possessed, his heart ached terribly. LV Baitin gazed at the chaotic and terrifying battlefield in the distance, speaking in a solemn tone. "The urgent task now is to eliminate the demon." Li Ya and Zhang Buku were also retreating. Their cultivation level was too low. Facing Xian Tianyi's demonic power, they felt suffocated. "Brother Li, there's no way to take advantage of this situation." Zhang Buku whispered urgently. He felt that the Holy Land was not containing the evil demon. Li Ya didn't speak. He was equally nervous. In his eyes, the Holy Land was the most powerful force in the world. With the Holy Land leading the way, their pressure should be less. But once the evil demon appeared, the situation was completely reversed, and even the mighty Holy Land was being suppressed. On the other side, Ancestor Lin Lu flew high into the sky, taking out various magic artifacts. While forming an array, he cast spells to attack Xian Tianyi. "What's going on? He shouldn't be this strong," Ancestor Lin Lu thought fearfully. He could feel that Xian Tianyi was still growing stronger, even challenging a higher realm. The realm above Lu's immortal. In the 6 Stars Cave, there was only one person in that realm, and that person was not on the continent. After reaching the realm of Immortal Path, most cultivators would not stay on the continent. He usually roamed the oceans and would not have returned if not for the family incident. Before he could think further, a surge of demonic energy burst from beneath the sword array, scattering it. Dozens of 7-star spirit realm sword cultivators spat blood and were sent flying. This demonic energy, like a blade, pierced through the sky, aimed at Ancestor Lin Lu. Too fast. It was so fast that Ancestor Lin Lu couldn't dodge and could only instinctively use mana to defend. Boom! His figure was engulfed by demonic energy, and the clouds in the sky were also pierced. As the demonic energy dissipated, sunlight shone through the gap in the clouds. All of the magic artifacts in front of Ancestor Lin Lu shattered, and though he barely managed to block it, he was covered in blood, looking miserable. He was also at the Lu's immortal realm, and at the 8th floor of cultivation, but before Xian Tianyi, he was defenseless. "Damn it, Ancestor Lin Lu roared, his mana bursting from within, further shattering the ground below. Earth's spirit energy surged up like a celestial screen, covering hundreds of miles, grand and majestic, engulfing his figure. Xian Tianyi suddenly appeared behind one of the 7-star spirit realm cultivators, grabbing his head. The cultivator's face showed terror. Before he could resist, Xian Tianyi directly extracted his soul, opening his mouth to forcibly devour it. He then released his right hand, and the soulless cultivator collapsed to the ground. This scene terrified the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators, who fled in panic. Xian Tianyi immediately disappeared and reappeared behind a female cultivator, grabbing her head and devouring her soul. These Mahayana cultivators had no chance to resist in his presence. Boom, a gust of wind came, and Xian Tianyi instinctively turned his head. He saw beam after beam of green light phantoms rushing out of the spiritual energy curtain covering half the sky. Each held different forms of magic artifacts, stood 100 feet tall, and looked like celestial soldiers from another world, unstoppable. The Third Medicine Valley. Guan sat at his desk, practicing calligraphy while watching the battle. Possessed by the evil demon, Xian Tianyi suppressed the 7-star spirit realm alone. That loose immortal constantly displayed divine skills, shaking the heavens and earth, but was unable to harm Xian Tianyi. Instead, he watched as Xian Tianyi continuously devoured souls. Guan sensed that 10 loose immortals were heading to the battlefield, flying in from the northern coast of the continent with great speed. They should be reinforcements for the 7-star spirit realm. Strange, there is still Xian Tianyi's soul aura within him. It doesn't seem like possession, but the two are so perfectly integrated, it's as if they were originally one, Guan wondered. He initially planned to act once the evil demon broke free, but he had to wait because of Xian Tianyi. The 7-star spirit realm intended to use the evil demon to bolster their holy land's prestige while luring Xian Tianyi into a trap, weakening the Supreme Sect's explicit power and reputation. It was truly sinister. But the evil demon was on the verge of breaking through to Wandering Immortal, which shouldn't have been part of the 7-star spirit realm's plan. Otherwise, Ancestor Lin Lu wouldn't have acted early, forcing the evil demon to break free prematurely. The variable was Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi seemed to have additional secrets unknown to others. Thinking carefully, Xian Tianyi's talent didn't seem trainable by the Supreme Sect, and his growth didn't involve training in the 7-star spirit realm but rather heading south instead. In any case, Guan was determined to rescue Xian Tianyi. Now the 7-star spirit realm found itself in a difficult situation, and it was perfect to use the evil demon to weaken the realm's power and prestige. At the very least, let the other sects know that the 7-star spirit realm was not invincible. Gu Yan's eyes turned subtle when he saw Xian Tianyi spare Ji Xianling. Besides Ancestor Lin Lu and Ji Xianling, all the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators had their souls devoured, leaving only their shells. Without anyone to restrain him, Ancestor Lin Lu was no match for Xian Tianyi either. Being in the same realm, it would be difficult for Xian Tianyi to completely kill Ancestor Lin Lu in a short time. Suddenly, Xian Tianyi drilled deep into the ground. As soon as he disappeared, the 10 loose immortals arrived. In the battlefield of the demon land, the world turned dark, and the land was buried in overwhelming dust, resembling the early chaos of creation. Ancestor Lin Lu looked around at his fellow disciples and said solemnly, "He's about to break through to Wandering Immortal." Upon hearing these words, the 10 loose immortals' faces changed dramatically. Without needing further orders, they all plunged into the ground fissures, chasing after Xian Tianyi. Ancestor Lin Lu took out an elixir and swallowed it, then began cultivating energy midair to heal. His face was grim, filled with fear. The Lin family had already lost startling immortal Lin, the most talented family member in history, and their plans involving the 7-star spirit realm were nearly exposed. He came this time to redeem himself, but hadn't expected the evil demon to be so powerful. 10,000 years ago, the evil demon had just reached the loose immortal realm. How was he so strong now? Was there another's influence behind the evil demon? His first thought was Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao could easily kill a loose immortal and was likely a wandering immortal. The 6 Stars Cave had only one wandering immortal, and without knowing Sword Venerable Fudao's true identity, they did not dare act rashly. Could Sword Venerable Fudao be someone from a great sect at sea, specifically targeting the 7-star spirit realm? 300 years ago, we shouldn't have let the ephemera sect in. Ancestor Lin Lu hated bitterly. The 6 Stars Cave had numerous factions and his family couldn't dominate. But now, the main loss fell on the Lin family. The disciples just devoured, most came from the Lin family, how could he not hate? At the same time, the Supreme Sect and other sects had retreated 10,000 miles away, sensing only 2 auras of 7-star spirit realm cultivators, making them even more afraid. Even the Holy Land can't suppress the evil demon? Without the Holy Land, we would have been dead already. The Holy Land does live up to its name, but its foundation is, could we ultimately rely on Sword Venerable Fudao? I suspect hell only act when the evil demon reaches the 3 dynasties border. We're truly useless, always troubling him, the cultivators discussed, while the Supreme Sect remained somber. Xian Tianyi being possessed by the evil demon was a huge blow to their morale. LV Baitin looked into the distance, his face dark and eyes flashing. And Hao had calmed down, waiting for the outcome. He hadn't yet connected Xian Tianyi's plight to the Holy Land, only cared for Xian Tianyi's safety. However, it didn't take long before an even more terrifying demonic energy erupted from the ground, startling everyone. Chapter 205. Majestic Divine Might, Wandering Immortal Arrives Rumble. The sky above the Supreme Sect was covered by rolling thunderclouds, as if a storm was about to break. The sky changed so quickly that the disciples who were still busy in the Third Medicine Valley hurried their tasks. Guwen descended from the pavilion, feeling that Xian Tianyi had already half-stepped into the wandering immortal realm, which made him very interested in the sealing ground of the evil demon. What exactly was hidden below? It could actually allow the evil demon to break through in one fell swoop. There must be a secret down below. Could it be that the evil demon also had the ability to evolve lifespan cultivation? Gu An's mind wandered, and he was already prepared to take action. Once Xian Tianyi dealt with the 11 loose immortals of the 7-star spirit realm, he would make his move. He could feel the heavenly might condensing in the sky above the battlefield, signifying that Xian Tianyi was about to face the tribulation. TSK is the tribulation range of a loose immortal this large? Guwen looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and thought silently. This gave him a clearer concept of the celestial tribulation of the immortal path. The tribulation of the evil demon had covered the entire continent, showing just how exaggerated the power of the tribulation was. If the tribulation from loose immortal to wandering immortal was already like this, then what kind of power would the tribulation from wandering immortal to heaven and earth flying immortal be? The aura of a distant loose immortal suddenly disappeared. It seemed he had died at Xian Tianyi's hands. With the first, there would be a second. The successive deaths of 2 loose immortals made Ancestor Lin Lu, who was healing, unable to remain calm. He immediately rushed into the underground to support. Guwen observed the tribulation. He could feel the spiritual power of the 5 elements in the heaven and earth gathering toward the thunderclouds above, rushing toward the crossing site at an extremely fast speed after entering the clouds. The spiritual power of the 5 elements in heaven and earth thus gathered together to accumulate heavenly might. The 3rd loose immortal fell. After devouring the souls of the loose immortals, Xian Tianyi's momentum soared. Vaguely, Guwen felt 2 strands of demonic qi surging within one body. Could it be that Xian Tianyi and the evil demon were vying for control of the body? Guwen silently thought, keeping a cautious attitude. If Xian Tianyi's soul was about to collapse, he would immediately take action. For mortals, the distance from the Supreme Sect to the Demon Land was a lifelong journey that could never be covered, but for Guwen, it only took one step. The disciples in the valley began to gather, discussing what the thunderclouds in the sky portended. Lu Lingjun still stayed within the pavilion, cultivating, seemingly unconcerned about the calamity outside. Since returning, she had been in closed cultivation and had not left the room. Rumble. Watching the lightning and thunder in the sky, the cultivators of the Supreme Sect were extremely tense because they felt they were also within the scope of the celestial tribulation and might be affected. Liang Canghai was decisive and immediately ordered the disciples to retreat. After all, they couldn't help the Seven Stars spirit realm. It was better to preserve themselves. Their presence here was at the call of the Seven Stars spirit realm. Otherwise, the safest option would be to guard the borders of the three dynasties, where they could gather more strength. LV Bain also led the disciples in retreat, and at that moment, Ji Hantian approached him. I suddenly remembered that Xian Tianyi had gone demonic in his youth, Ji Hantian whispered. LV Bain glanced at him, his gaze cold, scaring him into immediate silence. Ji Hantian spoke with some grievance. I thought you two were at odds. So all these years have been an act for me? LV Bain was the sect leader, and he was the vice sect leader. He also had the ambition to be sect leader, but above them was Xian Tianyi, whom many elders supported for the position of sect leader. As such, he naturally harbored no good feelings toward Xian Tianyi. It so happened that LV Bain once found him, complaining about Xian Tianyi, which quickly won his favor. Because of Xian Tianyi, the two formed a better bond. Whenever LV Bain shirked his duties, he would work hard because LV Bain promised that if he stepped down, he would choose him. Of course, all this was about vying for power. On a day-to-day basis, the three of them, as fellow disciples, greeted each other amicably. Talking nonsense, is now the time to discuss this? LV Bain said in a deep voice, cutting off Ji Hantian. Boom! A deafening sound came from behind, startling the two into turning their heads. The distance was too far for them to see what had happened, but the horrifying demonic might of the evil demon made them tremble in fear. At that moment, a disciple cried out, "Look at the sky!" Everyone looked up, astonished to find that the thunderclouds in the sky had reflected a scene of the demon land. Figures moved as swiftly as lightning, dazzling everyone. Those exaggerated spells and divine skills were even more shocking to every cultivator's eyes. Various factions began to slow down, retreating while watching the battle unfold. And Hao, Liya, and Zhang Buku did the same. Zhang Buku's eyes were full of longing. Could he reach such a realm in his lifetime? And Hao's eyes were full of concern and worry. He always believed that there was still hope for Xian Tianyi to break free from the evil demon. Under the watchful eyes of all the cultivators, whenever Xian Tianyi stopped to devour a soul, the scene in the sky would focus on him, zooming in, showing everyone the chilling process of him consuming the souls of the loose immortals. Xian Tianyi's face displayed two different expressions, arrogance and cruelty on the left, frowning and pain on the right. This made him look even more bizarre. Time continued to pass. In the end, only Ancestor Lin Lu remained alive. Seeing the last loose immortal companion's soul drawn out, he completely gave up on resisting. He tried to escape, but Xian Tianyi caught him, and this time, he could not escape Xian Tianyi's grasp. You can't. Ancestor Lin Lu trembled, his primordial spirit unable to leave his body, his physical form unable to use divine skills, and his qi unable to break free from the hand above his head. Sadly, before he could finish his words, he collapsed to the ground. Xian Tianyi swallowed his soul, soared into the sky, sat cross-legged in midair, constantly rising. When he stopped, beneath him was a vast wave of dust like a dragon, seemingly engulfing the entire world. The illusions in the sky continued to expand, eventually covering the entire continent. Wherever there were people or demons, they were frightened, discussing who the figure in the sky was. Transformed into the evil demon, Xian Tianyi deeply imprinted himself in the hearts of all beings. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley discussed in astonishment. Some remembered Xian Tianyi, finding it hard to believe. Guan turned and walked toward the transmission array platform. The blood prison great saint lay on the ground, watching the spectacle. As expected of the great heavenly spirit land. This tribulation is too exaggerated, and this evil demon looks so powerful, the blood prison great saint thought to himself. He was not at all flustered. After all, he was a prisoner. His gaze unconsciously followed Guin, seeing him teleport away. He didn't mind, thinking Guin was going to take care of the Mystic Valley. After arriving at the Mystic Valley, Guin simply inspected it briefly before leaving. As the great battle ended, the only sound left in heaven and earth was thunder. The cultivators of the three dynasties factions all paused. The leaders from each faction gathered to discuss their next move. They could all see that the evil demon was undergoing a tribulation. If the evil demon succeeded in the tribulation, the situation would become even worse. But with the complete annihilation of the 7-star spirit realm, what could they do? Someone complained, "There are so many cultivators in the Holy Land, yet they sent only so few of us here. Isn't this courting death?" Every 100 years, geniuses from various factions would go to the 7-star spirit realm for cultivation. They knew that the 7-star spirit realm far exceeded this number of people. Not only was the 7-star spirit realm sparsely populated, but they even called them to die here. It wasn't just one person. Others also resented the 7-star spirit realm. No matter how nicely the 7-star spirit realm spoke, these were old monsters who lived for hundreds, even thousands of years, not easily swayed by sweet talk. They judged the 7-star spirit realm by its actions. Liang Tsunghai took a deep breath and said, "All right, now the urgent task is how we might stop the evil demon's tribulation." Everyone fell into silence. The gap in realms was too vast. They had no chance of winning. Taoist Lord suddenly said, "I foresee that the fate of the three dynasties has not yet run out. Perhaps there will be a turn of events. The 7-star spirit realm, after all, is an ancient holy land. Having lost so many people, they will not let it go easily." As soon as he spoke, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They trusted the Taoist Lord greatly. LV Batian said nothing, his gaze fixed on the illusions in the sky. Time flew by, and those who came to fight felt agony. The people of the three dynasties were even more tense, watching the demon go through the tribulation, guessing what might happen next. Some even prayed for Xian Tianyi to fail the tribulation. And Hao sat cross-legged on the ground, both restoring his spiritual energy and keeping a close watch on the sky. Zhang Buku and Lia did the same, though they were more curious about Xian Tianyi's actual realm, finding the tribulation's momentum excessively exaggerated. On the other side, suspended high in the sky, Xian Tianyi was surrounded by demonic qi. The demonic qi from the underground pierced through the dust of heaven and earth, entering his body, continuously boosting his momentum. "Xian Tianyi, have you forgotten you consider yourself a hero of the righteous path?" A voice rang out in fury and alarm. From the dust wave emerged the disheveled Ji Xianling, shouting angrily at Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi's right eye opened, his brow furrowed, half his face showing a struggling expression. At that moment his other eye opened, glancing at Ji Xianling with a gaze full of soul-chilling murderous intent, making Ji Xuanling's heart quake. Xian Tianyi's lips quivered slightly, laboriously uttering two words, "Run away." As soon as he finished speaking, his right eye closed, and his entire face's expression returned to a unified look of cruelty and malevolence. He raised his right hand, aiming at Ji Xianling. Innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation. To think you, fiend, can undergo one of the top 10 tribulations of all time. A voice, like that of a heavenly god, resounded throughout the continent, shaking all beings to their core. Anyone who heard this voice was instinctively filled with awe. Ji Xianling instinctively turned his head, seeing a massive hole suddenly form in the thunderclouds above. A figure shining brightly descended from the sky, pressing the two of them down, scattering the boundless dust waves on the ground. Boom! Xian Tianyi sat on the ground, the ruins within a 100-mile radius collapsing, forming a massive circular pit. A figure descended in front of Xian Tianyi, causing him to look up in fear. For the first time, he showed such an expression. Chapter 206, Domineering. Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xianling also fell to the ground, but unlike Xian Tianyi, he did not bear the overwhelming pressure that surpassed a loose immortal. After landing, he only staggered a few steps. He quickly raised his eyes to look, his gaze locked on the mysterious figure in front of Xian Tianyi. It was a figure shining with a strong light, and he recognized the identity of the other person at a glance. Cave Master! Ji Xianling exclaimed in surprise. The Cave Master of 6 Stars Cave, Divine Soul True Lord. The Divine Soul True Lord stood tall, draped in a wide, black robe, with white clothes cinched with gold thread underneath, and a jade-adorned green silk belt. His black hair was coiled with 3 small swords. His expression was cold, and he looked down at the seated Xian Tianyi with eyes so frigid they seemed to freeze time. The illusion in the sky mirrored Xian Tianyi's figure while also reflecting the image of the Divine Soul True Lord, allowing everyone in the world to see his true appearance. Even the most esteemed great cultivators instinctively revered the Divine Soul True Lord at first sight. Just by standing there, the Divine Soul True Lord exuded an invincible aura. The people of the world were even more encouraged. The invincible evil demon cowered before the Divine Soul True Lord, all his previously established terrifying aura completely gone, now appearing so weak. Xian Tianyi did not want to stand up, but he simply could not. The gap between a loose immortal and a wandering immortal was as vast as the difference between clouds and mud. Xian Tianyi looked at the Divine Soul True Lord in terror, a look of pleading in his eyes. Thousands of miles away. And Hao looked at the illusion in the sky showing the Divine Soul True Lord and panicked immediately. Under his watchful gaze, the Divine Soul True Lord raised his right hand, and his imposing voice echoed across the entire continent. Today I, the True Lord, will execute the demon for the sake of all living beings. His voice, akin to a god's, reverberated with rolling thunder. No! And Hao shouted with all his might, immediately wanting to leap up to intervene. Almost instantly he felt a tap on his shoulder, causing all his spiritual power to dissipate, rendering him unable to fly up. Zhang Buku, Li Ya, and many disciples of the Supreme Sect glimpsed a shadow so fast they thought it was a hallucination. After speaking, the Divine Soul True Lord prepared to finish Xian Tianyi with a single palm strike. Ji Zunling's face changed drastically as he opened his mouth to plead. Suddenly, a hand pressed down on the Divine Soul True Lord's shoulder, dispersing the bright light on him, altering his expression and halting his right palm. In an instant, many thoughts crossed the Divine Soul True Lord's mind. Finally, he coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves, and disappeared within a few steps. He left gracefully, yet in the people's eyes, it was a stance of fear, no matter how upright his posture was. The reason Guan didn't kill the Divine Soul True Lord was that the world was watching, and a public execution would not be good. Firstly, because the 7 Stars Spirit Realm was a holy land here to save the world, and secondly, to avoid drawing other great cultivators from the Star Caves. However, sometimes, not killing had a greater deterrent effect than killing. Not killing could both instill fear and leave room for the opponent to fantasize. Killing meant a never-ending vendetta. Guan looked up. The celestial might was dispersing. With the evil demon gone and unable to cross the tribulation, the heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't continue. He then vanished from the spot. Xian Tianyi, leaning against Guan's leg, fell forward, and Ji Xianling appeared out of thin air, catching him before his forehead hit the ground. Seeing this, LV Bayin immediately called for Supreme Sect disciples to follow him to rescue. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators flew up all at once, fearless, every one of them with excitement written on their faces. With Sword Venerable Fudao present, what did they have to fear? Leaders from other sects exchanged glances. The situation had exceeded their expectations, too much information challenging their understanding. Liang Canghai took a deep breath and said, "The 3 dynasties advance and retreat together." With that, he immediately flew towards Zhangtian sect. Other sect leaders snapped out of it and went to give orders. Winning over Sword Venerable Fudao had become their most important task in years. The recent confrontation only solidified this belief. Sword Venerable Fudao turned out to be stronger than the Holy Land. In the Third Medicine Valley, Lu Lingjun watched as the illusions in the sky gradually dispersed, pulling her thoughts back to reality. Instinctively, she wanted to find Guwen to discuss her observations from the battle but realized his presence was not in the valley. She unconsciously scanned Mystic Valley with her divine sense, finding Guwen among the mountain woods nearby, inspecting medicinal herbs, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She showed a helpless smile. Such a great spectacle ignored, all he worried about were his plants. Truly hopeless. Elsewhere, in the inner sect city, Ji Xiaoyu stood on the eaves, glancing up at the sky. Even as the illusion started to fade, she did not avert her gaze. She hadn't seen the Divine Soul True Lord before but could feel his high status within the Seven Stars spirit realm. Such a powerful being was forced to retreat by Sword Venerable Fudao. Her eyes filled with complexity. Sword Venerable Fudao, who exactly are you? Once Divine Soul True Lord placed the token back into his storage ring, Guwen exhaled a long breath, his eyes growing cold. Judging by his expression, Guwen hesitated. The lifespan foresight could only determine whether others had ill intentions towards his true form, while the 9 extremes yin-yang body could conceal his true form and obscure karmic calculations unless the other person linked Sword Venerable Fudao directly to his true form and harbored enmity. The mountain god's little figure had resembled Guwen's true form closely, without any divine skills to cloak it, which was why he could sense it. And the hateful heaven ancestor had discovered him directly through sword intent. After 30 minutes, Divine Soul True Lord landed on an island. As he entered a cave, Guwen sensed a restriction and stopped following. Just remember this island. Guwen stood up and walked back to Mystic Valley. The disciples in the valley were still excitedly discussing the sky illusion they had witnessed earlier, the image of Sword Venerable Fudao deeply ingraining in their minds. They also believed that the entity confronting Divine Soul True Lord was indeed Sword Venerable Fudao. Guwen joined them, chatting for a while. The impact of this battle was even greater than when Sword Venerable Fudao killed the demon ancestor, not only because peace prevailed after defeating the evil demon, but also because it involved the Holy Land. When Guwen returned to the Third Medicine Valley, the disciples were gathered noisily, like in a busy market. Lu Lingjun, who had been waiting for him, pulled him into a pavilion, excitedly talking about Sword Venerable Fudao. Seeing her admire Sword Venerable Fudao so much filled Guwen with satisfaction. He had to feign excitement and reciprocate the emotional value. For the next month, the Supreme Sect was in constant uproar, everyone full of excitement, various news spreading wildly within the sect. Guwen went to the outer gate city twice, each time staying for 2 ancient hours, listening to the disciples on the streets praise Sword Venerable Fudao. It was worth noting that within this month, Guwen noticed more cultivators arriving from the sea, some even in the realm of Immortal Path, spreading throughout the immortal cultivation world, gathering intelligence on the 7-star spiritual realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. Guwen suspected they might be from another great power. He thought of hateful heaven ancestors' foes from the Star Sea congregations. The Star Sea congregations was a colossal power at sea. At least in hateful heaven ancestors' mind, the Star Sea congregations were on par with the 7-star spiritual realm. Could the Star Sea congregations be preparing to strike at the 7-star spiritual realm? Although Guwen let his imagination run wild, he remained calm, continuing his peaceful farming life. After all, no one knew that he was Sword Venerable Fudao. Liya heard this and gave an embarrassed smile. His relationship with Zhang Chuanqiu was average. Even if he had free time, he wouldn't have gone unless Guwen insisted. Guwen turned to Zhang Buku and asked, "How has it been following Senior Brother Li? Any injuries?" Zhang Buku was about to speak when Liya interrupted. "How could you get injured following me? These years, we've been a great team, having everything we wanted, and our cultivation has advanced rapidly. Seeing this, Zhang Buku could only nod. Then Li Ye shifted the topic to Sword Venerable Fudao, instantly changing the subject. Zhang Buku, who admired Sword Venerable Fudao, couldn't stop talking. Guan smiled at them, occasionally chiming in. Did Li Ye really take him for the primordial ancestor? The proud look on his face made Guan want to laugh. As for Zhang Buku, although excited, he wasn't as exaggerated as Li Ye. Hearing Guan praise Sword Venerable Fudao made Li Ye feel greatly satisfied. He wanted to tell Guan that Sword Venerable Fudao was their Li family primordial ancestor. But recalling the primordial ancestor's instructions, he could only hold back. He hadn't encountered the primordial ancestor in a long time. What was the primordial ancestor doing? Was he busy teaching in Hao? On the way back, Li Ye had communicated with Hao, and compared to Hao's progress, his achievements over the years were negligible. Once again he felt sour. The primordial ancestor favored Hao for his talent, but guided him out of blood and kinship. Guan didn't know what Li Ye was thinking but felt his mood suddenly drop. He didn't want to inquire and took the chance to focus on Zhang Buku, feeling slightly irritated by Li Ya's hogging of the conversation earlier. Bullying my nephew? I'm fine. Brother Li treats me well, really. One sentence from Zhang Buku caused Li Ya's blood pressure to soar. Guan, smirking, asked, Brother Li? Yes, we are sworn brothers, promising to live and die together. Zhang Buku said stoutly. He could help Li Ye hide some things, but not let him gain seniority. Li Ya's expression turned awkward. His gaze fell on the paper in front of Guan. Seizing the moment, he picked it up and asked abruptly, Junior Brother Gu, what are you writing? Guan smiled and replied, a book called Journey to the West. Journey to the West? Never heard of it. Just started writing it. All right then, I wish you to become a famed writer like Panin. Li Ye skimmed a few lines before putting it back, mainly using it to divert the conversation. He didn't really care about Journey to the West. Zhu Beiji carrying his wife? What nonsense. This book seemed boring at first glance. First vanquish the demon ancestor, then eliminate the evil demon. Sword Venerable Fudao's prestige had reached its peak. Even disciples from other sects would come to the heavenly repair platform to worship the words, righteous path. The entire immortal cultivation world was discussing Sword Venerable Fudao, and it was worth mentioning that the Sword Venerable legend written by Xian Tianyi had become a hit. In the book, Sword Venerable Fudao liked to tap his enemies on the shoulder at night, which corresponded perfectly with the earlier scene where he pressed down on Divine Soul True Lord's shoulder, making people wonder if Green Hero knew Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan just watched from below the platform. There were many like him, mostly Foundation Establishment Realm and Qi Cultivation Realm, content to watch the excitement from afar. Then, Guan patted the Blood Prison Great Saint, guiding it. With the festival coming, he had to prepare gifts for the disciples. This year's Spring Festival held a different meaning, as the Supreme Sect was ready for rapid development. The previous Golden List Conference, Alchemy Meeting, and the world's first Sword Dao Conference had accumulated enormous wealth for the Supreme Sect, and now with the world in peace, it was time to make great strides. Guan also needed to gather high-rank medical herbs for the Grotto Heaven. Suddenly, a prompt appeared before Guan's eyes. Divine Soul True Lord has developed hostility towards you and formed the intention to kill. Would you like to perform lifespan detection on him? A prompt suddenly appeared before Guan's eyes, making him frown. Well then, Guan took a deep breath and chose to perform lifespan detection. He had looked before and wanted to see again because this time it was about his own life. Divine Soul True Lord, Wandering Immortal Realm 3rd Layer 28098/13000/1800000. Currently, he had around 10,000 years of life left. He should be able to seize 10,000 years of life. Guan changed his mind and had the Blood Prison Great Saint leave the Outer Gate City, heading outside instead of towards the inner sect, finding an uninhabited forest to stay for a while. Within a secluded palace, the floor reflected a luminous glow, with many spirit stones embedded in the stone pillars on both sides. It was these spirit stones that illuminated the hall. At the end of the hall, Divine Soul True Lord sat at the head seat, holding a scroll. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the black-clad man kneeling in the hall, saying, "You may leave." The black-clad man immediately turned and left. Once the door closed again, Divine Soul True Lord frowned, with his left hand supporting his cheek and his right hand holding the scroll, deep in thought. His gaze occasionally glanced at the scroll in his hand. "Xian Tianyi," Divine Soul True Lord muttered to himself. Since leaving the continent, although he feared Sword Venerable Fudao, he had not given up. He had ordered Supreme Sex spies to investigate all of Xian Tianyi's relationships, and the scroll in his hand recorded everyone closely related to Xian Tianyi. The rising power of the evil demon was likely related to Xian Tianyi, and Sword Venerable Fudao intervened to save him. No matter how he thought about it, Divine Soul True Lord blamed Xian Tianyi for the failure in the battle against the evil demon. So he developed a murderous intent towards Xian Tianyi and his close associates. But he dared not act rashly, for perhaps Sword Venerable Fudao was among them in disguise. The mere thought of Sword Venerable Fudao made Divine Soul True Lord feel troubled. Fortunately, the 3-star cave had not contacted him much over these years, or he really wouldn't know how to report back. Sigh. Divine Soul True Lord sighed, stood up, and prepared to head to the small spirit realm to seclude himself. The 7-star spirit realm needed to maintain its image and avoid being discovered by nearby great powers. As the high-standing cave master, he only needed to issue orders and would not personally manage things. He took 2 steps forward, just about to descend the steps. A hand suddenly landed on his shoulder. Although it was just a light tap, his heart stopped. He couldn't forget the feeling of being tapped on the shoulder by Sword Venerable Fudao. Fear instinctively arose in his heart, and as he was about to speak, an overwhelming mana surged into his body, instantly turning his flesh into ashes, and even his primordial spirit vanished. The gap between the 9th layer of the Heaven and Earth Flying Immortal Realm and the 3rd layer of the Wandering Immortal Realm was immense. In front of Guwen, Divine Soul True Lord was no different from an ant. The scroll in Divine Soul True Lord's hand also turned to ashes along with him. Guwen, who had performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body technique, vanished as if he had never appeared. He quickly returned to the Supreme Sect, emerging from the bushes and walking towards the Blood Prison Great Saint. He had been out of the Blood Prison Great Saint's sight for less than 10 breaths. With its cultivation sealed, the Blood Prison Great Saint had no idea what he had done and immediately stood up after seeing him return. Guwen hung the wildflowers he had casually picked on the Blood Prison Great Saint's horns and directed it towards Mystic Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint did not think much and carried Guwen away. At this moment, Guwen appeared calm, but his heart was far from at peace. He looked again at the prompt. Killing Divine Soul True Lord had given him 10,500 years of life. The Wandering Immortal Realm was indeed formidable, no longer akin to weeds. When he killed Divine Soul True Lord, Guwen did not even dare to perform a soul search, as Divine Soul True Lord surely knew many high realm immortals, and he feared that soul searching might alert those powerful beings. Chapter 209 Meng Lang, Loose Immortal Realm Level 6. Before coming, Guwen had already observed with his divine sense that the strongest on the island was slightly stronger than a Divine Soul True Lord, but not by much. If there was a Heaven and Earth Flying Immortal, he would not have dared to come. If there was a Heaven and Earth Flying Immortal, then there could be an even higher realm. If the strongest on the surface was only a Wandering Immortal, there should not be a more terrifying existence hidden in the shadows. Even if there was, as long as Guwen did not cause trouble, nothing should happen. He went to the Sea Protection Mansion in the city, intending to conduct a transaction and register for an identity token, which would allow him to enter and exit the various buildings. This was information he had gathered with his divine sense earlier. The Sea Protection Mansion was very large, with many cultivators coming and going, covering an area of 100 miles. As soon as Guan entered, a servant greeted him. "Senior, may I ask what you are here for?" "To register for an identity token." "All right, let me take you there." "This way, please." The servant's demeanor was very respectful and enthusiastic. Guan followed him. There were many servants like him. Although their attire was not luxurious, it was clean and respectful. From the color of their clothes, their status in the Sea Protection Mansion could be judged. The clothes of this servant were the most common. After asking Guan if he was a newcomer, the servant began to introduce the Sea Protection Mansion and the island to him. This island was called Immortal Seeking Island, a famous neutral island in the ocean. Transactions could be conducted here safely. If something went wrong, the island master would ensure justice. Moreover, connections could be made with great sects such as the Star Sea Congregations, Seven Stars Spirit Realm, and Deep Sea Spirit Palace. When introducing the background of Immortal Seeking Island, the servant was not arrogant, remaining humble, which Guan found impeccable. When Guan asked for his name, the servant was flattered and quickly introduced himself. Actually, even without his introduction, Guan already knew, but it was necessary to go through the formalities. Hu Xiaojian, Nascent Soul Realm, Second Layer 480/860/2200, a lifespan of this extent could make him a genius in the Supreme Sect, but on Immortal Seeking Island he could only serve as a servant. Guan sighed inwardly. "By the way, Senior, have you reached the Immortal Path Realm? If so, I can guide you to obtain a high-rank identity token, which comes with various benefits." Hu Xiaojian asked cautiously. He could tell from Guan's extraordinary bearing, though not overbearing, that Guan was likely a great cultivator who had returned to simplicity. The ocean is a place for the high and mighty. As a mere mortal, he'll stay in the Supreme Sect. I don't want to be a burden. Xian Tianyi tried to persuade him further but was diverted by Guan, who asked him when he would return. Xian Tianyi said it depended on the situation, ranging from a few years to several decades. But he would definitely return, as his next goal was to help develop the Supreme Sect. Although he was angry, he saw this as an opportunity. If the Star Sea Congregations pressured the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, the Supreme Sect could develop. Even though he now belonged to the Star Sea Congregations, he wanted to help the Supreme Sect. In any case, he believed that no matter how the Supreme Sect developed, it could never catch up to the Star Sea Congregations.